kwamba ugonjwa hauna namna ya kutibiwa na kusipatikane tena Wakenya wengi wanaofika mahali ambapo hawajui wagonjwa wao watatibiwa namna gani, watalipa kwa jinsi gani. Ndio sababu hiyo tumesema kama taifa tuweze kuwa na mpango wa afya ambayo itafikia kila mwananchi wa Kenya.
President Ruto also continued to praise the plans being developed by his government to transform the national economy, including improving the health sector, reducing national debt and even strengthening the agricultural sector in the country.
We must believe in ourselves. We must believe in our country. And we must believe that we can change this nation. We are having a conversation, a live conversation now. And I want to challenge us as the citizens of this nation. Kenya cannot continue to be a third world country. We cannot continue to be a third world country. We must have a conversation. Just like Mzee Isaac alitoka kule chini, mahali pa umaskini. Leo tukasikia hapa Kikuyu, nyumba yake amejenga ndio ilikuwa nyumba ya kwanza mpaka bank saa hii ni mteja huko kwa nyumba yake.
Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro has defended himself after being criticized by some MPs when he claimed that the Kenya Kwanza government has increased the loan of the nation. Speaking in Nairobi, Nyoro said that when he served as the chairman of the budget committee in parliament for 2.5 years, he controlled borrowing, but there were people in the government who stopped him when he raised the allegations earlier.
And you check our stand on the things I'm talking about, and you'll see consistency in what we stand for. When you are serving in a capacity that I was serving before, just as you serve in any other capacity around government, because as you understand, when in the positions of departmental committees and other committees like the one I was, you work very closely with the National Treasury and the government of that time. There is something called, I would call it collective responsibility. And this is what works politically. And I'm glad, and I'm sure, Bogo, you are glad, that I've been there and I'm now here. Because at least now I can talk to you freely without having any issue of collective responsibility. And I am glad for this opportunity also.
Nyoro said the government continues to violate the law by borrowing beyond the set limit, saying that the national debt has currently reached more than 12 trillion Kenya shillings.
The current debt is over 12 trillion shillings. So in a year we are borrowing 1.25 trillion Kenya shillings. And by the way, last year, government went against the law and overborrowed more than it had been budgeted. Because we had budgeted as a country to borrow around 1 trillion Kenya shillings. The government, by the close of the last financial year, actually borrowed more and borrowed 1.25 trillion Kenya shillings. What that means is that we are borrowing around 100 billion every single month. And every single day, including today, Monday. By tomorrow morning, the country will have borrowed 3.5 billion every single day.
That's the News Wire. I'm Leo Baga, and continue enjoying the EPL matches across our radio stations, Berur, Radio Maisha, as well as here on SpiceFM.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
In this country,
6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, staki kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
It's 12 minutes after 6 o'clock, and it is the 16th of September, and we are well past the half mark when it comes to the 9th month of the year. Because you know what they say, when September comes and goes, all the birds are now in full force. October, November, December. Is there a number? No, there isn't. Okay. Good morning, everybody. And so it's on that day when both Dennises are not here again. But you know what? The princess has not been left alone, because we're going to be having conversations today with a man that you know. He pretends to be shy, but he's not. And that's the chuckle that you can hear already. And political analyst extraordinaire, and has an opinion about one thing or another, especially when it comes to social issues. So Ndu will be hosting the show this morning with Josphat Kamanya. Good morning, Josphat.
A very good morning too, and to all our listeners today.
How are you doing?
Waking up still.
Oh, okay. It's going to take you a minute. Mm-hmm. Don't worry. Some of us, we can be snap out of it in like 30 seconds.
Right. But excited.
0 to 100.
Excited? All the same, yes.
There are quite some things that we're going to be talking about today.
Indeed.
And we're getting into it on this Tuesday. It's Education Tuesday, and we're going to be talking about quite some of these things.
Yes.
There's a lot that is going on at the moment, but just making sure that everybody is ready to go, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. Have you seen Christine? She's in Power Red, and she's ready to take the things that we're talking about and putting them on our socials this morning. So she's handling things in the back end. So big shout-out to you, Christine. And EVE was The Faces of Eve. In fact, that's it. I should write a little like a short series. The Faces of Eve. That's the title. And if anybody tries to steal that title,
right?
We did something about copyright last week. Amma? Yes, I deal with you. The Faces of Eve. It's very interesting to watch. But her face just lights up a room. It's good to have you here, making things happen. Good morning.
Glad to be here.
So we'll get into things today, and as we do, let me tell you what some of those conversations will be. So Dennis is off attending to something important that he had to do today, so of course he's listening in on the conversation, but then also handling business. And also final prayers up for Dennis Aseto as he does his last exams. So we talked to him yesterday, and he's getting into it well, so he's soon to finish. So that's an update in case you were wondering where I've told you. But you know what? The conversations must continue, and that's what we're doing this morning. And I'm just going to go ahead and wish everybody a wonderful day, that may there be no obstacles that will, rattle you to the point that you cannot operate. There you go. So those are my wishes for you today as you get into it, and may the wind be at your back. All right. So the conversations that we'll have this morning from 7 to 8 o'clock, Dr. Beatrice Muganda Inyangala is the principal secretary, in the State Department for Higher Education. The PS joins us at 7. She'll be in the company of Professor Daniel Mugende Njeri, who is the chairperson of the Vice Chancellor's Committee. So vice chancellors around the country in different institutions have a committee. He is the vice chair. He's the chairperson of that committee. Right. They join us at 7. We're going to be talking about funding, quality and equity, the state of higher education in Kenya. There have been issues here and there. Funding model. We're into September, where folks are going back into school.
Yes.
So let's see. And this is the time also where the KCSE students who graduated, who finished last year in December, they're getting into university, public ones, this month.
Yep.
So let's take a look at that and see what it all means as we have that conversation. Sawa?
And I think this is the year we have the last of the Form 4s.
No, the last of the Form 4s is in 2027. So 2027 are the last class 8s who did KCPE will also be the last Form 4s. So they finish in 20. That's the last in 2027.
So we don't have Form 1s.
We don't have Form. We didn't even have Form 1s this year.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a lot of firsts. This is the first exam for grade 9s. It's next year will be the first grade 10s.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are happening at the same time. So what does that mean? We'll look into that.
Correct.
At 8 o'clock, we will have a conversation with, if I butcher this name, may God help me. Mwalimu Amunga Akanyalambandu is an education advocate and a researcher at the Kenya Women's Teachers Association. He joins us at 8 in the company of Janet Okoh, who is the director of Tunza Mtoto Coalition. We're going to be talking about the State House dialogue. President Ruto's State House pledges that he made to teachers who were in State House over the weekend. What this means, what this has in store. Will it change the face of education? We'll talk about that at 8. And then we'll close things up at 9 a.m. with Onesimus Maluki, who is the UASU organizing secretary. Remember that they've told us a couple of days ago that if you don't pay us, we're going to go on strike and we're going to shut down learning in universities. Yikes. Everywhere you look, there seems to be a fire. Let's see how we'll put this out with this conversations. Broken promises, unpaid dues. Lecturers say enough
is enough.
Enough is enough. So those are the conversations. It's going to be a heavy one. So buckle up, guys. It's going to be a fun ride. Thank you already for getting into the room with us as we have these conversations today. So let's do it. Very necessary for us to do, I think. And as we get into this, our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. Our audience on KTN, good morning. Karibu Sana. Thank you for joining us. Even as we get into this, wherever you're tuned in to the Situation Room across the country, the region, and the world. This is the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. Ndu and Josphat with you today. A warm Situation Room welcome to Josphat. Tell us good morning as you do, and remember that he's here with us this morning so we can push these conversations. Sawa, I know that you guys are good at that, so let's make him feel welcome. As we do have this conversation, at least in this capacity for the second time. Sawa. All right. Before we get into things and say hi to you guys, we went into the country of Benin, which is Benin. But Benin, okay, so that's interesting because I'm afraid of you. Because actually, in colloquial now we say Benin. Yeah, so even in Nigeria, so there is a state in Nigeria called Benin, which was part of the larger Benin Empire.
Right.
So we still have the traditional kingdom. So the king is called the Oba of Benin. Now, some of that is still found in Benin, which borders Nigeria.
Right.
So the kingdom was quite large. In fact, these Brits have some of our artifacts in their museums. They should give us back our things. And so so it's a small country,
right?
And just looking at they're very steeped, very, very deep in tradition still, but also colonized partly by the French and partly by the British. So there's French-speaking Benin, English-speaking Benin, of course, but mostly, interestingly enough, like Cameroon, is mostly French. And then, of course, so remember the kingdom Dahomey? So now what is left after that is now found in Benin, parts of Togo, and parts of Nigeria. So, when they tell us about their proverbs, this is what they had to say about a number of them. Here we go. This is the one that we'll share today. Where did it go? I lost it. Mama. Okay. Hi. Am I blind? Okay, sorry. Okay, here we need to go. Okay, here we go. Of those, the thing which is in the belly of someone is what is in his heart.
Wow, that's rich.
The thing which is in the belly of someone is what is in his heart.
Deep. I would loosely interpret it to be that you can only share that which you have. you know, or that which can ooze out of you must be coming from within you.
Yeah.
So, and you know, random examples are given that nowadays is very common.
Yeah.
That hurting people only hurt others.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing. You know, the people who are compassionate and very intimate about themselves are very caring and loving by extension to others.
True.
So it's an element of what you have, who you are, how you are, is what you're going to share out in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't give what you don't have.
Nah.
Yeah. So whatever you were, I guess, so whatever you're exemplifying, what people know you to be, it's actually coming from a place within.
From a place within. Well, it is either positive
or negative.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And most importantly, for the positive, we should realize you can only keep it by giving it away. If the more you spread love and care and tenderness, the more it springs
comes to you.
Yes, yes.
That's true. Well, that's true. I guess it's out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So the things that you give is coming from a place of abundance in your heart. Absolutely. Deep stuff. And that's how we're starting off this Tuesday. Why not? Because Josphat is here. Just looking into those proverbs this morning. Let's hear what folks have to say in terms of their interpretations of those. All right, let's take a minute before we look into the headlines to say good morning to you guys as we get into things today. We don't take it for granted that you join us every day. Some of you are on the other side of the pond and it's bedtime, but you're in the room with us, and so we don't take that for granted. I mean, folks, Stella should be going to bed after, a day of nursing, but says, let me stick into the Situation Room and get to be part of this conversation. Folks who are just early getting up, who should be getting into work, Atieno, Christina, Mtuflani, Agola, and Chris, Tibbs, Leo, all of you guys, Ongani Malala, everybody who gets up in the morning or should be going to bed and says, let us just be part of this conversation because we need to move things in one way or another. Peter Kiare, who gets up every morning, good morning. Rose Grace in Tamu, every day tuned in. Thank you for doing this. Pan-African Kenyan. Jimmy Munuthi, we see you guys, and so we just keep saying good morning. Taking care of yourself isn't selfish, it's necessary, says Peter Kiari. Indeed, and a very good morning to you. Pan-African says good morning from Nairobi. Robert Tobogo again, tuned in from Mombasa, and we see you, Rose, good morning. Agutu Ogembo says good morning, thank you so much for tuning in. Christina, there you are. Ndu, please ambia EVE to bring us Nganga Muigai. Yeah, I've passed the message. Ndu, EVE, bring us Nganga Muigai. Don't know who that is, but okay. So, Kisa Daniel is tuned in from Atiak in Uganda. Good morning from Voice, says Rogers Nyange. Agola, bonjour à tous mes amis. Bonjour à toi. Boaz Naliana says good morning. So it's Ndu and Josphat this morning. Good morning to you. Engineer Felix Karaoke is tuned in this morning. Much love from Tennessee. See, these are the people I'm telling you about. They're going to bed, but they're with us having the conversation this morning. Sarah Kilonzo is tuned in. Good morning to you. Good weather in Naivasha. I love Naivasha weather. Jimmy Munuthi, we see you. Good morning, Team Spice, says Jimmy Gakio, tuned in this morning. Dr. Venvik is tuned in from Tudor. And Eric O'War says good morning, guys. Good morning, Eric.
Spice, is it Tudor or Tudor?
It's Tudor. It's okay, fine. In Kenya, it's Tudor.
Right, yeah.
All right. Sorry. So if you were in London, it would be Tudor. But since it's what?
Tudor.
Tudor. Tudor. All right. Geraldino Cheng says, good morning, Team Spice. Asante Sana. Isaac Hale says, ODM's 20th anniversary was meant to celebrate unity. It turned into how to publicly disagree while sharing the same stage. Nothing says broad-based government like a narrow-based feud. Don't you say it right, Isa. Absolutely. Hi, jeez. Carol Nyambura says, good morning. Now, Apenda Sana, have a blessed day ahead. My prince, we see you. Good morning. A South African court has ruled that men can now use their wives' names as a surname. Haya ni makubwa. Kubwa sana.
Majabu.
I knew it.
Majabu.
Why?
Well, let's say it's a new phenomenon.
Because the man is the man. It's my name. I marry you. You don't marry me.
Traditionally, we know you, a woman, is the one who assumes the man's surname.
Right.
So when you reverse that, I wonder now what the kids will become.
They'll be hyphenated.
Okay.
I don't know. Some stuff. I mean, it all started with this nonsense. I'm sorry. Call it what you want to call it. All started with this nonsense of women proposing to men. You know, which call me what you want to call me, guys. I've said it today. Call me what you want to call me, but this thing of a woman kneeling down and saying, "Will you marry me?" Good Lord, no. Come on.
I think we are really interfering with our social fiber, which we used to instill and define what family is.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just about the name of the woman proposing. It runs deeper into the redefinition of what a marriage is. And that's why you see nowadays there's a lot of a shift on morals and values.
Absolutely.
But I think as Africans in general, we need to revisit what used to work for us traditionally.
Yes. You know, we can have an entire 3-hour show on this thing.
Agreed.
we could talk for hours about this thing. And just kind of like redefining how far off grid. And I think there needs to be a grid. It needs to be a grid. It keeps you balanced. It keeps you directional.
Yeah. And
how far off the grid have we actually gone with some of these things?
And you know, I think there's a misplaced concept on inferiority of women. Because there's nothing like an inferior gender. If women just perfect being women and men perfect being men, we'll have a very functional society.
You need to write that down. Put it in a book. Put it on a t-shirt.
It's coming up.
It's coming?
Yeah.
Josphat is writing a book, guys. Put it on a t-shirt, I said. My prince, good morning to you. Mashari and Njeri was tuned in this morning. Imagine packing 6,000 envelopes with 10K. There must be a vault filled with 1K notes in State House. I see you. Good morning. Can you see the last man standing? The last woman standing. No, come on. We're together here. Bob Awar, good morning. Thank you for tuning in every morning, Bob. Good to have you here. Is Bob short for Robert? Wangi Juma is tuned in this morning. How are you all this blessed Tuesday? We're doing well. Michael Olande, we see you. Good morning. Karibu Sana. Cyrus Yegon, good morning. Happy to have you here. Dan Stilogat says, yes, Josphat is asking how are you. This is where you say you're fine.
Fine, thank you.
Tibbs Mungai says, good morning. The distribution of 1 million to the avocado farmers was quite something. Sindio, Jimmy Munuthi, we see you. Josphat, he says, welcome, have fun, Karibu.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Rahim Tula Omar is tuned in from Mombasa. Are you going to be here for a while? I know usually in the UK. Agola, yes, out of the heart the mouth speaks, absolutely. Sir Brian Mutego is tuned in, ready for Tuesday from Sotik. Kennedy Ongwai is tuned into the Situation Room, Asante Sana. Henry accepted, we see you. Rogers Lai says, Nico Hapa, Karibu, we see you, Rogers, again. Always good to have that name in the room. Owen Molu is tuned in from Boito. Where's Boito? Sounds interesting. Where is that? Boito? Where is that?
We'll find out.
We'll find out. Peter Gitao is tuned in. We need Nganga Mwegai there. Okay, somebody else has said. Mutuflani says present. Nimesikia roll call. Indeed, Mutuflani, good morning. Karibu sana. Good morning, Kimavin Kruma Makonnen. Habari Leo SpiceFM. Karibu sana. Big up on herself. Okay. The Revolutionary Journalism Crew Ubuntu. Indeed. Much love to you. Karibu sana. Jay Didiot says, good morning, tuned in from Garissa. Love that color. Thank you so much. A girl has got to be pretty in pink. Hey.
Boito is Konoin constituency in Bomet.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's in, okay, fine.
So hello to all the Boitos.
All the Boitons.
Yeah.
Okay. Onganyi Malala says we're tuned in indeed. Mbisi Ndolo is tuned in from Dagoretti. So what else? Thogoto.
Right.
We were looking at some names yesterday. So how, like Dagoretti is the Great Corner. Kariakor is Carrier Core. There are quite a number of them. And then, so Thogoto is Scotland. Great Scotland, the new Scotland, essentially. So the names were just kind of changed. You want to bring us, this is the new Scotland, we're going to change it to Thogoto. Thanks. It sounds better. Scotland, Thogoto. Okay.
Homegrown.
Absolutely. I kind of love it, actually. I really do. Eastleigh.
Yes.
Right, so you say you're going back on the 30th. Okay, but it's good to have you here when you are, and we know that you'll continue tuning in even when you go. Karibu Sasa says Bwangi Juma, and Fid says good morning with you from Mbita. Sorry, listening in from Chililu, Kenya Hills is Eric Ohomo, and tuned in from Kisumu Nyahera Dago Market is Rashid. All right, guys, keep trickling into the room. Good to have you here. And even as we get into things, I know more and more of you will click in, be part of the conversation. Why we do the conversations, of course, to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comfortable, because this race of development is not one that will be won in a day. but that we need to continue. And one of the things that we do by having a conversation is to bring these things out into the open. Usually there's the misguided thought that if you don't talk about it, we can put it in the corner and it will sort out itself.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. But one of the things that you do by having a conversation is that you put light on an issue.
Yes.
And that people can start to imagine or reimagine things. And then we can have a better society, one conversation at a time. And that's why we do this every day. And having you part of that conversation, absolutely important. So thank you for doing that every day. And even as we attend to the issues, it's a concerted effort. Let's look into the headlines today. We'll start on the front page of the Standard. It's Kenya's bold newspaper. War against Matiang'i. Former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i's declaration 4 months ago that he will run for president in 2027 has clearly struck a nerve in President William Ruto's camp. Behind the scenes, a covert plan is in motion. With state machinery rolled out, senior civil servants flexing power, money changing hands, and threats issued, all aimed at clipping Matiang'i's rising stature in Nyanza and across the country. Whoa, people are not happy.
No.
Okay. Julius Ogamba, who happens to be the education CS, seems to have a word or two about politics. We wish he would say more about education, but okay. It's true professionals from the Gusii community met. You can't threaten someone because of his or her political beliefs. These were top professionals from our community. I agree on that one, actually. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Well, I agree with the statement. I just don't agree from the person who made it.
Thank you. That's what I'm saying. The statement is beautiful.
Yeah.
I wish that we could see such pedigree coming from, the education ministry, but okay.
Yeah.
Richard Onyonka, who's a Kisii senator, says they're here every weekend, flying in a dozen helicopters, intimidating civil servants, bribing people in the name of economic empowerment rallies. Where is money coming from? That's the question, the perennial one that's being asked.
Yeah.
Also in headlines, sleuths flying blind in city without CCTV despite millions sunk into the integrated urban surveillance system between 2012 and 2015. Nairobi has no working CCTV to capture real-time crime in the CBD and major roads. A week after lawyer Chalo Mbobu was gunned down in a hail of bullets, detectives still have no solid leads and are left to hope and pray for good Samaritans to step forward.
That's a sad situation. Because you'd expect this day and age that our surveillance in terms of security continues to improve and not, regress.
Yep.
Yeah. And now you see it's resulting to unnecessary loss of life.
It is.
Because if people knew they were being watched, naturally it declines the crime rates. And then also for crimes that are committed, it makes it easier for the investigative agencies to track down the perpetrators.
But also I think that Kenya's security agencies are probably some of the best in the region and in the continent. And I think that we have breathed this morning. If they wanted to find out where we breathed,
they would.
So unfortunately, in as much as we've sunk millions into this surveillance, they also are some of the best equipped resources mentally, educationally, experientially, that if they wanted to find something quickly, they would. How long after Westgate did they find somebody holed up in an apartment in Kiambu? Didn't take too long. They did.
No.
So, something we're talking about.
Yep.
Let me tell you something. Some other headlines that are making their way into the Standard that you might like. Before we go to that one, teachers back Missouri on hosting JSS in high schools. Remember that JSS was moved to domiciled in junior secondary, then back in primary school. Now Akelo Missouri is saying, you know what? It's junior secondary school. It should be in high school. So teachers are saying, Sawa, we want it there as well. There's another headline here in the Standard. No kiss, no marriage. Court widens divorce grounds and redefines cruelty. I'm just going to read the headline. Just wait. I'll read the story later.
Okay.
But the headline says, no kiss, no marriage. Court widens divorce grounds and redefines cruelty. Take a picture, post it. In fact, this is what you should make a t-shirt. Okay, looking at some other headlines. Bring it on. Duale dares cartels opposing health sector reforms. You guys think you're going to do Mafia House for me? I'll show you. I'm the real Don Corleone. That's what he's saying. We're not going to deal with that drama.
No.
Shame of a capital city working without working surveillance cameras. That's, of course, explainer of the headline. And another explainer on page 6 and 7 of the Standard. Ruto's allies plot to clip Matiangi's wings in Gusii ahead of 2027. Sakaja's show unfolds in Nairobi's ever-spinning circus of governance. Okay, we'll continue to look at that. And of course, just taking a look into the World Championships happening in Tokyo in Japan. Cherokee and Yavi to renew rivalry as steeplechase battle comes alive. That's happening. Kipyegon eyes historic 4th world title. She will compete. She did a test run on the 1500 semi-final at the championships on Sunday. The stage has been set for what is shaping up to be a mouth-watering catfight in the final, which is taking place this afternoon. So if you have an opportunity, watch it. It might be her 4th gold medal. Very few have done that. 8 years in the running. 2 years after 2 years after 2 years. If she's world champion again in this race, she'll be quite the phenomenon.
Yes, and 2 very interesting topics from the headlines from the Business Daily. One talks of how KRA is turning to AI to catch smugglers. That'll be interesting to see.
Which AI? The one that they don't? Okay, sorry.
The one, yeah.
Okay.
But KRA is seeking to turn to that to catch smugglers. That would be interesting to see how that works, because tax evasion is real in this country. We know measures need to be in place. Then page 3 of the same Business Daily, you have the potential of wealth taxation in Kenya. They are seeking to tax the wealthy, and they have the view that carefully structured wealth tax could generate significant revenue, reduce inequality, and promote social justice. It will be interesting to see how that develops.
Yeah.
Because taxation receives a lot of pushback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You want to tell us what's on the Nation?
Yeah, we have the Daily Nation today, the 16th of September, Tuesday. Well, the campaign podium. Apparently, the new face of State House, the facelift, was meant to be
to accommodate people.
And renew promises, dissect groupings in the country. So there is a very good narration on the delegations that have been hosted at the State House from August 7th to 13th of September. And they range from Boda Boda team, the youth of Nairobi, Nyamweya and Kisii, Meru, Kuria East, Turkana, Kisii, Murang'a, 10,000 teachers. I know Kiambu was in the mix, and many others. And so it's saying President Ruto has opened State House gates. I don't know whether this came from the Gen Z saying we need to go to State House, perhaps. So the gates have been opened for delegations from across the country, explaining the meetings with diverse interest groups are intended to resolve their grievances and let them have a say in governance. And yet all these people have representatives in parliament.
Imagine.
Yet all these people have agencies and ministries that should be addressing these issues.
There are people who are paid a salary every month to crunch the numbers. There are people paid a salary to set up infrastructure. There are people who are set up to monitor and evaluate. There are those who are supposed to manage systems. The biggest issue, the biggest element on Kenya's revenue after payment of debt is payment of overheads, recurrent expenditure, and 93% of that is in salaries. And then you want to tell me that can happen and all these folks have to go to State House to then ask for these things to be done? What are people doing year long?
Apparently with this regime that cannot happen. We're required to be hosted in the State House. But most importantly, you see, if indeed 10,000 teachers went to State House and the brown envelopes each contained 10,000 shillings, it means 100 million Kenya shilling was spent on that single day.
That's just giving money. We're not talking about the setup and all of these other things that were happening.
Just the cash that they took home. That is equivalent to the CDF kitty of any constituency in this country.
Oh, snap, you're right.
Yeah.
CDF money for an entire year for one constituency
is
dished out in a day at State House.
Yes. To just one group, teachers. You have all the others that have been hosted. These are very interesting and disheartening times indeed.
Boy. Okay.
Yep.
Another story in the Nation today. Inside Kwabinzaro, where hope was turned into shallow graves. We know that still continues, and that Steve Otieno is writing the story talking about the fact that there's still many. Look, I mean, the state of poverty just from that picture, showing us what the place looks like, and folks then are given to what is religious radicalization over this matter. And the question remains that when will we open our eyes that the folks who are asking you to do this are happy, healthy, plump and happy, they're eating. But you are not. You're starving, going to heaven. Or do they want to make sure that everybody has gone and then they do the last lap? We don't know.
Much as I appreciate the matters of religion or matters of faith are quite individualistic, I think as a society we need to relook at the allowances we allow the so-proclaimed religious persons, the allowances we allow them to occupy in our society, or in our social spaces. Because we talk of radicalization, but how many churches, mainstream churches, do we see really driving the society off the norms and the values? We were just talking about us being African, revisiting what used to work for us. But I think we need to review as a country, more so, even legally, and as a continent, Africa, the impact of the church in our society. Because I think, in my opinion, there is more negativity than positivity.
True.
There has to be a regulation. You see, like Rwanda is doing very well. You cannot just open up a church just like that.
It passed through the process.
But here in Kenya, every next plot in the estate
is a church. Waking up in the morning. Man, I know. We can't say, okay, fine, we've exhumed all the bodies and we hope it doesn't happen again. This is what we said about Shakahola. But even before Shakahola has been able to close down that crime scene, this is another one. There's another one somewhere in Western. There are people who are burning things and stripping feathers. It's happening. It's happening today.
Recently, we had another one in Western, as you say.
Where some woman is Mary and her husband is Joseph. For crying out loud.
And, and many other pastors are really duping their followers.
Yes.
People are taking they sell their goats, cows, even plots.
To give to the church.
So we need to have a conversation around that.
We really do. I want to tell you the story that's coming out from the courts, even as we look at, let me just look quickly at the headlines on the Star. Inside Gachagua Kalonzo team's 2027 game plan. Not quite sure who's going to hold on to that position. To show your hand, and that's what they say when you're playing poker, you don't show your hand until it's time for you to call poker. But it seems you're showing your hand because you can't help it, just because of the nature of politics in the country at the moment.
During the marathon, there's something called trotting. Before the marathon starts, you're just warming up, to get your system going. So I think this coalition of the deputies is trotting. Whether they'll actually get into the race and run the full marathon,
we don't know.
That is yet to see, because I've been listening to Kenyans from different regions, and the opinion is quite strong and has changed. Things have shifted. People are keen on having good and better leadership.
And people are just going to let things slide under the table. You won't just come and say, I want to be president. Then people say, you want to be president? Okay, come. No,
not this time.
A little bit more
and especially when you brag about having made somebody a president, who is the worst president Kenya has had.
Okay, don't say what you think, Joe.
So it's interesting to see, because I know things are changing now. We are getting into the high octane politics. Parties are being unveiled, and their alignments are coming up. So it's a discourse that is worth having locally, loudly, and together. This is our country. No one should be afraid to say what they want.
Absolutely.
Because leadership is basically us employing people to do duties that we cannot all do
at the same time. True. That's why you have leaders in the minority in terms of numbers, because not everybody can lead. That's why you delegate to people to do so. Shoddy work, stalled projects, gobbled up 1.3 billion shillings of CDF cash. Hey, God in heaven. CDF cash. Constituency's 2024 audit highlights Nancy Galongo is the Auditor General, and she's told us, you know what, shoddy work, Yani, you maybe just decided not to put these pipes fixing right here, and then they had to redo them. 695 million.
Yeah.
Turkana Central, poor workmanship, 20 projects, 48 million. Tetu, 20 projects, 37 million. Starehe, various projects, 23.8 million shillings. Limuru, irregularities in implementation, 24 million shillings. Luanda, 4 laboratories, 16 classrooms, done as though it was a dollhouse, 54 million shillings. And it goes on and on and on to the nice hearty sum of 1.3 billion shillings.
Now imagine what 100 million can do. Because if you look at Teto, Starehe and Limuru, matches that has been misappropriated, it still does not amount to 100 million.
It does not.
You know, and yet we are dishing out 100 million happily every
One day.
Yeah.
You want to know what 100 million can do? Let me tell you. 100 million can give you 1 month sharp premium payment for 333,333 Kenyans.
That's a whole county.
Yep.
In some part of this country.
You can make sure that you're paid up for a month. You know, just
we need to stop talking about enough resources.
I'm going to keep using that health example. Give me a number, I'll tell you how much. For January, for the first term, the 50% that was supposed to go towards capitation, we're still owing children about 3,000 bob. So 100 million shillings, 3,000 shillings, 3,000, let's just say Form 4s. We're not going to say all the students. Just Form 4s because they're writing, just the candidates. We owe them that money for first term. So about 800,000 of them. 800. Yeah, is about 2.4 billion shillings. That's about half of this money has been wasted.
Yes.
You understand? So if we'd actually taken and done properly, you would have said at least we would have paid that money.
Does somebody in this country, anybody out there, and I would want them to tell us, does anybody still think that our problem is not poor leadership?
Does anybody still think that our problem is not poor leadership? If you were looking for a toll, there's one, EVE. Let me tell you the story coming out of the courts, because, you know, all of this stuff is happening even as we look at it, their education stories and such. But, you know, these issues that bother people, that now bring them to other spaces and they start acting like bandits in their workplaces, are things that are bothering them from home. The court says no kiss, no marriage.
Right.
That morning kiss, that touch on the neck, that tickle in the ear, the massage on the legs, and the sex that keeps love embers burning, if denied, could now be grounds for divorce. It wasn't before. In a landmark judgment that adds to the growing list of reasons why Kenyans may seek divorce, Justin Reuben Nyakundi ruled that withdrawing affection or ceasing to do what one once did for a spouse amounts to desertion or cruelty. Such behavior, he said, can justify the claim that a marriage is irretrievably broken. According to him, when love is no longer served on the plate of a marriage, one does not have to have a better ending while fighting to prove infidelity, physical desertion, or physical harm to part ways. All you have to do is say, duh, no hugs.
No kiss.
Thanks. Instead, he explained, seemingly small matters, occasional quarrels, outbursts of anger, or a consistent pattern of abusive behavior can be signs of a marriage already dead. Justice Nyakundi stressed that one should not be compelled to live in the shell of a marriage merely to satisfy family, community, or religious dictates that insist only God can separate two people. And in his ruling, he said, since marriage is a matter of free choice, individuals should equally have the freedom to end it willingly. And aware that from an ecclesiastical perspective, this may be considered controversial, as it might be seen to encourage hasty divorces or dissolutions of marriage over minor differences or incompatibilities, potentially promoting immorality. However, that critique is far from the truth. There should be no coercion by the court to force two individuals who once loved each other, like Romeo and Juliet, to sustain a marriage that exists only on paper. In the case of many customary marriages, remains unregistered and lives only in the shadow of the community. He added that marriage is a relationship of give and take, often difficult but requiring constant judgment. For instance, he said, if a woman goes to her parents' home with her husband's knowledge, but deliberately overstays, Such absence may amount to desertion and misconduct.
Indeed.
Sindio, this is the one who said, this is the guy who, in the beginning, when we said that a man is taking a woman's name, he said, what did you say?
Let women be perfect.
Never.
A woman should perfect being a woman, a man perfect being man.
Said that, so he went on to say that similarly, withholding conjugal rights or making intimacy impossible can be treated as constructive desertion. Some people have even called it fraud.
It is marital fraud.
It's fraud.
Yes.
It's fraud.
Yes.
Hey, not even thinking about a possibility of anything else. No, it is fraud.
It is fraud.
Justice Nyakundi was ruling in a divorce appeal involving a couple whose marriage appeared outwardly to be intact. Their case had been first dismissed by a magistrate court, but on appeal, the High Court found that the lower court had failed to consider the evidence of a collapsed union holistically. And he said this court must make it clear that desertion within a marital union is not merely a withdrawal from a place, but a withdrawal from a state of things in which there is a legitimate expectation to meet both the written and unwritten obligations necessary for the survival of the marriage. The essence of desertion lies in the rejection of all marital obligations. You know, you think you just married a woman and keep her in the house. Cook for you and wash for you.
You see,
it's another human being.
The whole discussion of emotional, psychological, not just physical aspects of a marriage, of a union, of a relationship, clearly changes the dynamics of that relationship. And loosely put, one, we were talking about the church. The ecclesiastical wisdom is based on the church, which does not condone or encourage divorce. And that's why you see there's a lot of a struggle in marriages, especially that are bound by the church, where you, because of maybe shame or social issues, you don't want to leave. You don't want to be perceived as a person who failed. But ultimately, the question we need to ask ourselves in a manner of thinking, if a person who was once your friend is no longer friendly, are they still a friend today? Gosh. Because you get into a union, you get into a marriage, you get into a relationship, there's all this hot and fiery engagement, there's a lot of intimacy. Then for one reason or the other over time, it dies off. Why then?
Why do you remain?
Should you be bound to remain? And also, I want to ask the other person, ukiacho achika, if somebody wants to leave, let them
leave. Yeah.
Why would you want to stay with somebody who does not want to be with you?
Exactly. This is true. And I think Justice Nyakundi is on point here. Where he says, you know what, the things that brought you together, if they no longer exist, then you actually have a right to say that I can't be here
Was
anymore.
a good ride. Nice knowing you. If you guys have kids, arrange, agree, maturely
figure out how to do
on
it.
how to do it. You know, and then we'll not have a lot of these cases on custody.
Very true. Very true. I mean, it's interesting that we talk. These are the things that we don't want to talk about. Oh yeah, well, you know, it's over there. We'll figure it out. And then we don't talk about it at the family lunch or the family dinner or the family get together. No. We talk about it.
We should.
We should talk about it.
An interesting conversation, page 2 of the Star. The hurdles in the race for Mombasa governor seat.
Okay, we're already racing. All right.
You know, the race is on. You see, Mombasa is such a unique county. And if you look at the development that are coming up, you know, you have the blue economy. We need to rethink matters leadership. How well can we manage our coastal city? You know, so it'll be interesting to see the choice of the gubernatorial candidates the Mombasa people will end up with. I know Suleiman Shabal was in the race. That was in 2017. Then you have these former and current MPs from Muhammad Ali. Actually, his former MP, Hezron Awiti. And then the Kisauni, former MP. But I like the Shanzu MCA. The Alan Katana is stepping up for the gubernatorial position.
Step up, guys.
And the speaker as well. So it's going to be interesting. But I hope the Mombasa people will do us a service and give us a worthy leadership. So see how it goes.
It'll be very interesting to see how it goes. And it's interesting because we actually do have, I think this coming election, you'll actually see a lot of unexpected candidates, but I think it is good that you do have a lot more people throwing their hat into the ring, because remember that this election, we only look at the presidential, but development does not happen at the top. in the country.
Yeah.
Development happens at lower levels of governance.
Yes.
Right? So if you have folks who are throwing their hat into the ring at the MCA level, like you're talking about, at the member of parliament level, the governor, senator, folks who you don't have to be known, but you in popularity, but known for the work that you can actually do.
Yes.
Those are folks and I think that this election, just from the chatter on the ground in the streets, is that there'll be a lot of people who are in other professions today who are going to put themselves in as candidates for these positions, and that their track record in these other positions where they were should speak for them, and that Kenyans should actually make the right choices.
And I encourage that, because you see, politics is an industry, just like the way you have agriculture.
Yeah.
Health is an industry. So there has to be a threshold of values, and skills, a skill set that are required.
Yeah.
And case in point, you see, like today, the Nairobi County, people are still struggling with understanding the leadership they have in terms of their governor. But what happened to the MCAs when they wanted to impeach him? They were called for a meeting that was diluted. But imagine a situation or a scenario where these MPs were fully autonomous. I mean, the MCAs of Nairobi were fully autonomous, and they were focusing on the mandate they've been given by the people. They would have done what is right by the people constitutionally. You don't need political interference for you to run administrative roles at the county. And the same goes now for the National Assembly. If only, this one has been rendered illegitimate and very incompetent, but if we had a functional National Assembly, imagine how that would work with the executive. Imagine the laws that we'll be having.
I know.
So people must know, going to the ballot, why are we going to vote? What kind of people do we want? Going to be a good conversation.
It will definitely be one.
Yeah.
And while all of that is happening, let's look at the final story for this hour. It's on page 4 of The Nation. Ruto turns State House into his new campaign podium. That's where these rallies will be held. It's where you have 10,000 teachers. It's where you have 5,000 leaders from Murang'a, Kiambu. At 9 p.m. Saturday, thousands of teachers were in long queues at State House waiting to receive a 10,000 shillings handout after a meeting. They were the latest visitors to the state of power that is lately holding a steady stream of delegations at least 10,000 delegations, at least 10 delegations from various counties have trooped to State House Nairobi between last month and this month, but the weekend gathering of 10,000 teachers is the largest so far. You have to ask yourself, even before I go on to the next part, that what is happening with education, number one? What is happening with the promises that were made around employment of teachers and increment in their pay, and the CBA, which is still living out its days? What is happening with learning? What is happening with pupils? That it would appear as though coming to State House and gathering everybody up at the same time, would it get rid of those issues? Or do we wake up on Sunday morning, hallelujah, and the issues are still there? Yes, they are. They are. They're still there. The issues are still there.
Yeah.
We still have substandard teaching. We still have students who don't know what they're going to be doing come January 2026. We have the Uwasu, were they in State House? Or we're just talking about primary and secondary school teachers? Were they not in State House over the weekend? But they wake up on Monday morning and say, guess what? Atujalipwa tutaenda on strike.
We're going to strike.
Come on.
Yeah.
Do the issues then go away? They don't.
No.
They don't.
Not by osmosis.
Not by osmosis. That's what we're looking at, and those are some of the issues, folks. So even if so that is what you need to ask yourself the question: is it for development or is it for political expediency? Those are the questions, and these are the conversations that we're having this morning. We're going to get into conversations around education this Tuesday, and we're going to get off into it right at 7. Like I said, seatbelts up. It's going to be a wild ride. You're going to need them. Buckle up, folks, and let's talk about it. It's Ndu and Josphat with you this morning, having Kenya's biggest conversation. We'll talk. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is the News Wire. I'm Leo Ubaga. Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja has declined to commit to timelines in the investigation into the recent murder of city lawyer Kialo Mbombo, saying detectives require space to complete the process thoroughly. Speaking on a local TV interview, Kanja said the DCI had constituted a strong team to handle the case, but cautioned against rushing the probe.
Investigations are currently on progress. I have directed the DCI that we need to move with speed. That is exactly what he's doing. So currently, we are following some very useful leads. We had arrested 3, but they were again cleared by the investigating teams. But as I've said there earlier, we are on hot trail of some very, very useful leads. And we believe that we are going to get the culprits who actually committed that crime.
When pressed to indicate how long it would take before results are made public, Kanja said it was too early to commit. The police chief added that accountability would follow once the suspects are identified and apprehended.
All those investigations remains active. We have not closed those files until we get those who committed those heinous crimes against all those you have mentioned. So meaning that we will not rest until we get to the bottom of that. So even the case of the current case of Wakiri, investigation are on progress, as I have said. The same case applies to the rest. And in fact, at this stage, I also want to appeal to the Kenyan people, especially those who would be having any kind of information that can be able to assist the National Police Service, and in particular the DCI, in unraveling that one. We welcome them very much.
And the Director of Public Prosecutions, Renson Ingonga, has called for enhanced cross-border collaboration in combating transnational organized crime, emphasizing that no single country can tackle the threat alone. He warned that crimes such as human trafficking, narcotics smuggling, cybercrime, money laundering and illicit financial flows pose some of the gravest threats to regional security. Ingonga stressed the urgent need for united action to protect peace, stability and sustainable development across the region. 3 pistols submitted to the DCI laboratory by IPOA for the investigation of Rex Masai, who was killed during the Gen Z youth protest last year, were not used to fire the shots that ended his life. DCI armory expert Alex Mutinda says this report is crippling the investigation into the murder after the pistols were used as evidence. He also said the pistols submitted to the department are completely different from the bullet used in the Masai murder, and 1 pistol was not submitted for investigation.
Your Honor, the 3 pistols I've just mentioned cannot have fired Exhibit IPOA A1. Cannot have fired Exhibit IPOA A1 because their caliber is 9x19 millimeters. There was a pistol which was mentioned in the memo form by IPOA, which was not submitted for examination.
And the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the Independent Policing Oversight Authority have announced a new partnership aimed at ensuring integrity in the upcoming police recruitment and addressing long-standing corruption concerns within the Kenya Police Service. Speaking after a joint meeting in Nairobi's EACC headquarters, the Commission's chairman, David Oginde, said the collaboration comes at a crucial time as the National Police Service prepares to recruit 10,000 new officers. This event comes as the Kenya Defence Forces has announced a nationwide recruitment exercise set for next month for young Kenyans to join the military.
We have agreed that we'll work together as the 2 commissions to see how we can monitor whatever is happening within the recruitment of police officers that is soon upcoming, and even the future ones, so that the members of the public can participate in a free, fair and transparent recruitment.
The recruitment gives an opportunity to the leadership of the police and to the governance institutions to ensure that the intake, the recruitment of the 10,000 officers is done in a more transparent, to ensure that there's public confidence in the exercise.
And you're being urged to brace yourself for rains as the Met Department has forecast rainfall in several parts of the country this week, even as most regions remain sunny and dry. The agency says showers are expected in sections of the Central Highlands, including Nairobi, as well as the Lake Victoria Basin, Rift Valley, Western Kenya, and the coast. The department also warns of strong southerly to southeasterly winds exceeding 25 knots over Kenya's coast and territorial waters, as well as in the southeastern lowlands, northeastern, and the northwestern regions. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
Country is hesitant. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice. When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody is human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Getting in at 9 minutes after 7 o'clock, and welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Tuesday morning. And like I said, it's Education Tuesday. Ndu and Josphat hosting Kenya's biggest conversation with you this morning. And even as we get into things, we are getting into the conversation that starts off this education part of things today. Our guests are in the studio and seated in the hot seats this morning. Dr. Beatrice Muganda Inyangala is the Principal Secretary in the State Department for Higher Education and joins us this morning. Good morning, PS.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Good.
Karibu sana. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Good to have you here as we discuss some of these things. Professor Daniel Mugendi Njeri is the chairman of the Vice Chancellor's Committee, also joining us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Morning to you.
Karibu sana.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome to Kenya's Biggest Conversation, even as we get into a number of things this morning.
Thank you.
We will normally start off the show when we go into different African countries. The countries of our continent are rich and they're resourced, and not just in things of money or metal or material, but also in knowledge and wisdom. And different people have said different things that have remained written in the sands of time. And they're proverbs that they used to talk to each other or to communities or to children that we still carry into the day. So every week we go into a different African country. This week we are in the country of Benin, as we would say for pronunciation in French, otherwise known as Benin. And then as the people say, we are Bini people, B-I-N-I, as Josphat knows. And it formed part of the kingdom which was Dahomey, and that now the remnants of that kingdom are ensconced in this country, with parts of it in Togo and Nigeria. The capital is Porto Novo, and it is the largest city and the economic center. The primary port is Cotonou. It's bordered by Togo, Nigeria, and Niger and Burkina Faso. And its population resides along the southern coastline, which is the very famous Bight of Benin. And the proverb that the Wahengas we were sharing this morning, which we would love to get your interpretation of as we get into things, it goes like this: the thing which is in the belly of someone is what is in his heart. The thing which is in the belly of someone is what is in his heart. We'll start with you, PS.
What you care about seriously, you feel it in your stomach. Yes. Yeah.
You feel it. It burns. You want to do something about it, isn't it? That thing that you care about the most.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What about you, sir?
I think it's what you have the passion for. Is really what you go out to get. And as we know, the belly or the stomach is very important. If somebody is hungry, then they can do anything.
Yes.
And that's it. So I think that's what that Proverbs talks to and talks about. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
The beauty with adult education is that every answer is always correct.
And by virtue, and by virtue of the fact that you have an opinion because you have your own brain, then you are not wrong. Absolutely. As we get into this conversation this morning, we're in September. And we're going to have a lot of students reporting into universities across the nation. And one of the things that's going to be a top mind is, higher education and how we're going to fund this. And we've come out of a year of about a year and a half of asking ourselves, what does the funding model mean? How are we then going to be able to go to school? What am I least vulnerable most? Am I abjectly poor? Those questions have come into play. And as we get into funding, quality and equity, let's start off to have this conversation and say, where are we? We'll take a scorecard of saying, we try to change things a little bit, tweak them here and there to make sure that a quality higher education is delivered to Kenya's students. And are we there? Or are we still scratching at the surface? PS?
We are there. We are moving there with great speed. As you know, the education sector is in reform mode. And so we've started all this reform, starting with the curriculum, the competency-based education that's going to go all the way to the universities, because we're moving beyond just knowledge to what students can do with this knowledge. So if a child in a family has studied business education, it's not just about the knowledge, but they can sit with their parents who are mamambogas and help them develop a business plan. So that's what we mean by quality education. You get a skill, and that skill enables the student to do something in and outside school, something that makes a difference in their lives, in the lives of others, and in this great nation. Yes.
Prof, as you sit on the Vice Chancellor's Committee, you have seen, you have heard, there have been issues when it comes to funding model. There have been issues as to whether help is enough. There have been issues as to how we're going to get this cycle of things moving. From your perspective, what does the outlook appear to be?
The outlook is good, and I don't think it could have been any better. I think we are in a time that, as the PS has saying, the things are changing, education is changing. I think also the funding space is also changing. And really at the university with the new funding model for us is a game changer. And I want to say that, yes, money challenges will always be there. But I think what the government has done is to ensure that the universities that have perennially and been underfunded, because when we are in the DUC, mode of funding the universities, we realize that we will never be able to get enough resources to keep the universities running. But with the new funding model, which we are calling the student-centered model, we have seen funds now flowing into the universities. And the first cycle, that was 2023-2024, when we started this funding model, either two, we're only receiving about 42 billion Kenya shillings into the universities. But within the first cycle, we moved that figure to about 81 billion. And indeed, as a result, then, many of the universities that were either too technically insolvent, we've been able to pull ourselves out of that hole. And we are now strong on the path of sustainability and financial prudence. So therefore, we feel that the new funding model is a game changer. Yes, we'll continue to require more funds, but the trajectory is that with the new funding model, then all the universities, even those that were technically insolvent, in another 2 years or so, we should be out of that. We should all be doing well as far as financing is concerned.
And interesting, Prof, because for far too long, the conversation when it comes to universities and relation with the government, it dwells into funding, and we talk about resources. But a lot of us Kenyans are wondering, today, is the unit cost of education known to either the policy formulators or the government itself? Because as you say, we've advanced from 41 to 80 something billion, so resources are flowing to the universities, but still they are not sufficient. If we don't have a target in mind where we know to run 1 university or 10 universities and per student, this is the unit cost of education, then it becomes difficult to budget. Is the unit cost of education known in this country?
If I could come in, because I'm the planner here. Yes, we know the unit cost of education. And it varies from program to program. Because some programs will require more in terms of teaching and learning materials, reagents, equipment, space than others. Some will require more lecturers, more technical support than others. So that's why the cost of programs will vary from program to program. That is the unit cost of educating a single student, putting into consideration what it takes to cost all this input. And so it will vary from, let's say, 121,000 all the way up to around 447,000. That's the unit cost of educating a student. But what is important is that this cost is shared between government and parents and households and students. And this needs to be really clear that in the current financial year.
Yeah.
What the new funding model has helped us achieve is a student relief of tuition that is the biggest in the generation. Students in universities have never really paid 5,814, which is the minimum at the moment. Medical students are paying 22,000.
Okay.
So this is a big relief.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I get an understanding of how this model works? Not that who gets what, but essentially, if I make an application to university, right?
Yeah.
And then I fill out the metrics that are required from the Ministry of Education at that level, there's a certain amount of money that will then be accorded to me. There is also a certain amount of money that I must pay, and then maybe there will be a loan that I will pay later. Now, this money that is allocated from government, does it go directly to the universities, but then under my file, as it were? It goes directly to university, or how does that work exactly?
Yes, it goes directly to the universities.
Okay.
In fact, amounts that are disbursed on scholarships and loans, that is a government commitment to the universities.
Those to universities.
Yes.
Now, when we look at the fact that today, in May 2025, universities are in debt to 76 billion shillings. This is the money that they owe in back payments to KRA. This is money that is owed in back payments to arrears and also staff salaries that have not been able to uphold things like CBAs and etc., etc. How does that play out if this money goes directly to universities which are already debt-ridden, and we're supposed to deliver education which, according to both of you, is going on amazingly well?
Let us not forget history. It is an issue of legacy. These debts have been haunting universities for a long period of time. And so we come in, we find pending bills, we design a model that increases the flow of funds to universities. We also work with universities on 3 pillars: strengthening governance and leadership, because efficiency and prudence in use of resources is just as critical as the money that's coming to the universities. We work with universities on diversifying funding streams so that they can also augment what comes in from the exchequer. So basically, incrementally, we are increasing the resources available to universities to pay off these debts gradually. And it's good that I'm here with Professor Mugendi. I think he can give a live case study of how he dealt with his pending bill.
Okay, can we look at that? Because you sit on the committee of vice chancellors, so you're very aware of the issues that universities are going through. And because of the fact that we're talking government, it is public universities that we are speaking of. So how can we say and give education at the higher level a clean bill of health when we have close to 100 billion shillings of debt across universities? How can we do that?
Thank you. I think as the PS are saying, we need to look at history. And as I said earlier on, the former way of funding the universities through using differentiated unit cost or capitation rather was not sustainable, and that's why then many of the universities found themselves accumulating these debts to the amounts that you've mentioned. But the new funding model, when it kicked in, then many of us were able to pull out and we were able to pay whatever we were owing. For example, if I give example of University of Embu, by that time I had a pending bill of about 172 million that I was owing the lecturers in form of salary arrears. Because of what you mentioned, the CBAs, because then when we signed the new CBA and there was no corresponding money or funds to pay, we were not able to pay. So we accumulated those arrears for 2 years. And you see, if then the new funding model did not kick in. Up to now, we'll still be accumulating and the figure will be growing. But in 2 years and an appending bill of about 142 million, which with the coming of the new funding model, then we were able as the University of Embu to clear that. And as of now, even if you talk to any lecturer or any staff worker from University of Embu, we owe them nothing. They have been paid all their arrears. And on top of that also, we also under a building that had almost installed, that we have started in 2018. Again, with the new funding model, the funds that came in, we were able to unlock and we've been able to complete that building. So what I'm trying to say is that, yes, we still might look at the pending bills and say it's there. But what is happening is that we have actually been able to pull and reduce that pending bill. Otherwise, by now it will even be over 100 billion. But because of what the new funding model has done, we've been able to clear many of those pending bills in many of the universities. But we still have a few that still have issues. But again, Rome was not built in one day, and that's why I say in another two years or so, we should all be fine financially if we keep to the same trajectory that we are in now.
Allow me to buttress that point, because the issue of pending bills is very, very critical. And I want to emphasize that when you look at the assets and liabilities of universities, universities that were technically insolvent in 2022 were 23. Right now, only 13 universities are technically insolvent. But they do have assets. And so part of the solution is working to optimize the idle assets of these universities in the process of diversification of funding streams. And this is on course.
Well, yes, PS. It's interesting, and it's what we'd call more of a politically correct response to the crisis we are facing with our education system. However, one wonders, and that's why I was posing the question of costing to Prof, because he's the executor, he's the one who feels the wrath of inappropriate funding, inappropriate handling of the CBAs. When you look at the, as you say, optimization of our resources, I think the greatest resource we have at the universities are the staff, the teachers, and these are the personnel you need to have ably effect their mandate. And then when their salaries are delayed, it becomes a crisis. You are looking into a looming strike in the next couple of days or so. So, and you own the planning mandate, which is great.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, because we've had the PS position for long, years before, how are we really doing as a country, knowing that education is SDG number 4, Sustainable Development Goals? Where would you rate us in terms of the milestones when you compare that with the planning or the plan that we have for education system? Because a lot of people don't agree with the approach, the means testing when it comes to funding, among other issues. Where would you say we are as a country?
We're doing very well because talking to SDG number 4, quality of education and equality in access, right now the ratio between the female participation and the male participation at the university level, it's really good. We are at 48 to 52. And we're generating good outcomes out of the education sector. I cannot mention the number of our alumni who are trailing the blaze both abroad and locally. We have innovations that are coming out of our universities that are in the process of commercialization. University of Kabianga research through that university just unearthed an enzyme that dehairs, leather, and we can then produce leather using organic products. We're looking at University of Embu here. They have produced crack fox cement and many others. Now, this are not going to come out of universities that are not meeting the bar. And so we're in a good place. Yes.
Okay. We talk about alternate sources of funding from the HELB, the folks at HELB, to the universities fund. These guys are always crunching the numbers, and they've told us that they never have enough. There's never enough to do everything that is required at that level for everybody at the same time. I'm interested, what are these, because according to PS, they're already getting into places where alternate sources of funding are coming through. What are some of these alternate sources that are bringing about significant funding so that if the exchequer one day delays, that universities don't come grinding to a halt?
A good question. Thank you. Alternative sources, and indeed, this is a big thing now in the universities. We are driving ourselves to ensure that we have diversified funding, alternative sources of funding, and these are one, partnerships and grants, research grants. So we are encouraging each university to make sure that we are able to tap into that. And indeed, when you look at some of our universities, they have huge the capital outlay there is huge. For example, you talk of University of Nairobi. When you look at the research funds, sometimes it can be as high as 5 billion in a year.
Those monies that come in, what do they go to specifically? 5 billion shillings a year is a pretty sum of money.
Yes.
What do they go to ensure that, for example, that there's money coming to the universities, money to students? How does that work?
How that works is that for every research grant that comes into the university, there's something that we charge that we call overhead costs or administrative costs. So that then comes to the university. So the more of these funds that come, then they help the universities to be able then to remain liquid.
Do they though? Because these universities are not liquid. Do they? If we're looking at 5 billion shillings, even if you were to take 10% of 5 billion shillings and say, let's you charge that as an overhead, do we see that in the last, let's even say 2 years gone by, if that kind of money is coming into universities in terms of research grants, surely if we take if we take take a $500 million shillings, wouldn't we see or feel the effect of $500 million shillings towards debt, for example, where University of Nairobi is in debt of 13.2 billion shillings, and a grant came of 5 billion, and I take 10 billion of it, at least I would see a dent in that, wouldn't I?
Yes, and actually it's doing a lot. That's to a large extent is what is helping to keep the University of Nairobi afloat. And not only University of Nairobi, but also the other bigger universities, Moi, Injaton, universities.
Oh, come on, more universities in the doldrums right now. We're not
Allow me to give a very specific example, drawing on Moi actually. So Moi had a real huge debt. And we started working on a turnaround strategy. And as part of this strategy, Moi University is producing computers and laptops for the ICT State Department.
Okay.
It is
for the State Department.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So this is part of the alternative income generation. Like I said, the university was in a hole. So we stopped digging, and we are filling that hole gradually.
What kind of money are we talking about that's coming from these computers?
700 million
per year. Okay.
So, but that's going to scale up. I mean, we just began with the 700 million. So that's more Egerton as well.
Sorry, PS, I just want to be clear on how this works exactly.
Yes.
So if there's a development of this equipment infrastructure at the university, and this comes from, I would assume, a department of information technology, where they are now actually in the business of developing equipment. So there's an uptake by the Ministry of Education in the information technology department.
Yes.
And so that uptake is for all that they produce. Is it for all that they produce, or does this go somewhere else?
No, that's the order that was given to Moi University to supply laptops and computers.
Okay.
Remember, we are starting from zero.
Below zero.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good place to go, and we plan to scale up this production up to, let's say, 3 billion. Yeah, because we are in the digital mode with the digitization as a key pillar in the economy.
Yeah.
So the plan is to have Moi supply quite a bit of these computers and laptops.
So this 700 million,
Yes.
I'm going to stay here because it's important.
Yes,
Let's say 500 million.
Yes.
Because maybe 200 million it's administrative, something goes away.
Yes.
We see, since when did this start, by the way? Last year? A year before? This year?
This year.
This year?
Yes.
So give or take, some 500 million has gone to the coffers of Moi University.
Yes.
Are you able to track and trace and say, okay, we were below zero, we were sub-zero, guys. People were wondering if campuses like Chepkoilel and others would actually shut down because we were just not able to handle things. So we're saying that with this money that's going in, because this is alternate sources of income, because maybe in some cases there's exchequer delay, there's just not enough because of this debt, we have seen that this money can go towards sorting out some of the problems that were perennial, that essentially saw that one of Kenya's oldest universities could shut down. Can we see and draw the lines between this project and the salvation of this institution? Because without that, we're putting money in a hole that continues to widen.
Certainly, we are tracking the revenues, the expenditures very closely, and universities also have targets of cost containment. They share with us quarterly how much they have saved in terms of, let's say, electricity bill. Many universities are engaging solarization projects just to cut down on the electricity bills. So we are tracking all of that. Cost containment, off budget, what have they raised, and how are the expenses flowing, because we expect them to save from the budget that was originally submitted. Yes, we are tracking this closely.
P.S. I come back to the planning point.
Yes.
Because, the university we're talking about is a long-standing university in the country, which I would assume
My alma mater.
Even better, which I would assume has received significant amount of grants, which administratively there is a portion that goes to that end. Now, the question is, whom do we blame for the accumulation of debt? Because this is not a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year debt. It's been over time. And then I want to counter the same with what you're talking to. In my opinion, I would say it's tokenization. That the institution is in crisis. Let's give them a project to supply computers, which could have been given to any other university. But I understand it's a rescue mission. But is it sustainable, really? And supposing there is what you'd call a regime change, because that's not really an education policy in terms of supporting the learning institutions. Are we going to get out of this hole?
Actually, it's not tokenism. We are all aware of the government procurement regulations, and government to government is prioritized for procurement. So this was competitive, and Moi University won it competitively. And it had been producing laptops and computers before, until it went under. So back to your question, we cannot deny that there has been a crisis of sorts in management, but this is what we are addressing. We started off by introducing new governance structures. We have a new council in place that is very forward-looking, very strategic, very visionary. We have a new management in place. We've done serious audits, and we've identified issues that we are addressing actively with the new council and management.
So there should be some life in that facility.
A lot of life.
Now, I want to throw a spanner in the works and ask Prof. Looking at our admission criteria into the universities, it so happens, coming from the KCSE format, persons who would score D+ and below would not get a slot in the universities, give and take. And we all know that this country is very diverse in terms of social settings. So the learning environment varies depending on where you come from. Would you then agree, or rather do you subscribe to the thought that persons who get a D cannot get into university and do better and come out as, with a distinction or without necessarily having to bridge. Because I feel like we disservice a lot of young people whom, in my opinion, is not their fault that socially they were not able to be stimulated enough.
Maybe they don't test well. Yeah.
Even the testing itself. What's your take on this?
Thank you. I think that's why we have this discussion of changing the way education system. Because now we've gone to CBC or CBE, which is more of a summative, so that this student accumulates what would take him or her to say whether they have passed or they have not passed. So this the only system whereby it is a one-off. And that time when you woke up to go and do that exam, you could even have been sick. And therefore, the results then the results will come out the way they will.
Yes.
And therefore, you end up with an D or something. It doesn't mean that you are poor. And as you've said, also circumstances.
Right.
But now with the accumulating all that the student has been doing over the years helps to bridge that gap. But however, we have also changed the way now we ingrained and the way we look at students. We've changed that approach altogether. And somebody now with even an E or an D can be able to proceed and all the way and become a university professor if they want to.
But can they get into university right now with the way the system is? If I leave high school with a D, can I get into university, PS? I can't.
No. Yeah. You can't.
Yeah, I can't.
You can't, but there is in the new dispensation of things you can, because you follow a path that will be able to lead you to that. Because then you follow the path that will be able to take you through the TVET. You take what then D is around to take, but you used to have a ceiling.
Yes.
We will say that somebody with an D, you can only go up to this far. But now we've opened it up. Yeah.
Well, but the truth is, universities.
I would want to stick with the prof for a minute. I agree. There is a pathway you can take. You can go to TVET, you can bridge and all that. But you see, that happens at a cost. Cost of resources and cost of time to the family and the child themselves. So as Ndu is asking, will we get to a point, perhaps progressively, whereby even if I do get an E, I can still go to university? Because if you appreciate that getting an E is not a mark of intelligence per se, that there is still potential for these students to learn, shouldn't they have an opportunity at least to get into university, pick up the course they want, and then continue with the grading? What is wrong with somebody going to university and getting a U for grading? Must one get a distinction or thereabout? If somebody goes to university, enters the university having scored an E in high school, I would imagine they'll be able to study through the curriculum and then they'll still graduate at whatever grade. What do you think about that, Prof?
Yes, I agree with you on one point, but you also have to look at in every stage there must be some shifts.
Okay.
You must be able to shift and they say, this from here, we only want to take this, from here we want to take this. So and that's the essence. That doesn't mean that those who fall on the science are not good enough.
Okay, but sorry, Prof, but I think that's the issue.
Yes.
That have we actually made the shift?
Yes, we have.
And I'll give you an example. Because we talk about the CBE, and we started off this conversation where both of you said that we have a foundation now that is going to take us to a higher education place, and things are going to be better. But you know what? The reality on the ground? That teachers are still teaching students to pass exams. And I'm not saying this because I imagine it to be. I am the mother of a grade 6 pupil who is about to sit his KPSEA at the end of October. And what were we told last week? We have now finished the syllabus. Now we need to focus so that we can pass this exam. You see the mentality? We're not talking about summative learning. We're not talking about wholesome learning. We need to pass an exam so that you can be placed properly in grade 7. Do you see the mentality of teaching? The mentality of learning. We can talk about CBE until we are blue in the face, and for us Africans that's a bit difficult, but we can talk about it until we're there. But the truth of the matter is that we are still on that learn to pass. And even in the review, again, I'm speaking from an experience. I'm not talking about what somebody else said. And if we're going to use that as a segment, then we can take it and make it applicable to everything else. That even when we do review in class, because one would imagine, and I'm going to be a little bit long-winded with this so that you can understand what I'm saying, that even when we talk about a review in class, when we do a continuous assessment, and we come back and we say, did we all understand? Yes, teacher. Did anybody, how many people got it right? In a class of 40, guess what? If 20 put up their hands, that teacher is not going to review that question. And we're talking about a wholesome education that's going to take us to university, where, according to you, Prof, everybody will then be able to have part of it. But we're not. We are still heavily vested on the exam mechanism, whereby if you don't pass an exam, you're doomed to fail. So we can talk about how CBE has come and has been monumental in a shift towards a higher education, but we are still stuck on passing exams, even in this CBE. How are we going to get rid of that? That's the truth on the ground. I'm telling you, PS, if you didn't know, that's what's going on.
Thank you for sharing that case study. But recently we were in Narok, Elimu Mashinani, and we also had other case studies that were very inspiring. So yes, we are talking about change management, and there'll be mixed results as you journey on this path of change management. But what are we doing as a ministry? We are addressing this through pedagogical reform. We are addressing teachers through the science and art of teaching, so that the focus will eventually shift from just being exam-based to really building the skills. And allow me to give an example that is always very profound for me. How do we build skills? If you are teaching a student the qualities of a good leader, this can be dictated, crammed, and reproduced in an exam. But what we are putting our teachers through pedagogically is to tell them, get an example. Let the students identify an example of a leader. And then you analyze that leader, the leadership skills, what the leader has been able to do.
In Kenya, that is difficult to come by, but proceed.
It's coming. It's coming through, believe me. It's coming through. And we've had stories about students who are now able to cook. So it's not just about learning how to cook, but actually doing the cooking. A project, if there's a project on, let's say, an animal, like a cheetah.
Right.
So that animal is used to talk about engines, relate to speed, and how this has been turned into engineering through the production of cars and machines and all. So we just want students to relate. And I said it's a journey of reform. Reform does not happen at once. But we are also hearing testimonies of very good results coming out of the CBC. But we acknowledge and we are addressing building of competencies and how that is taught. Next week, we have a big workshop that's bringing together all the teacher training colleges, the universities, Teacher Service Commission, all of us who are involved in developing programs for teaching teachers, to just reflect and see what's working, what's not working, how can we harmonize, how can we make that better, and work through the ecosystem to improve the skills of teachers.
But P.S., one would wonder, and I hear you. You're coming from a good place, and I like how you're defining the ideals of where we could get to as a country. But one has to wonder, we knew CBE was coming. We knew we are going to have a shift in terms of grading, and impacting newer skill sets to our teachers. Why did we not plan ahead? Why do we need to now capacity build our teachers a year or so years later into the system already? And the concern I have with that is because we're talking of that change is a journey, is a process. I do agree and I appreciate that. But we have to agree we are gambling with the future, actually the present and future of our children. And that is poor planning 101, in my opinion.
I am a planner,
Yes.
and we are planning, and we've been planning,
Right.
and I'm very confident we are doing a good job. Remember what I said, what is the focus of this training, of this workshop next week, is to assess the progress that has been made. Training has been ongoing. We just want to share the progress, what has been happening in the different spaces. So we're not saying we're going to start. We are going to assess progress. We are going to identify where the gaps are. And this is an ongoing process in any system, however advanced. Monitoring, evaluation, learning, addressing gaps, and moving on. So we're in a good place.
How do we measure learning? Because it's important. We're coming to higher education later, because by the time you get to university, you've learned the formulas, you've learned the basic, one would imagine, that you've learned the 1, 2, 4s of the processes. So what you're doing now is that you are applying those things towards a particular subject area. That's what happens in university. And then when you get to higher levels, you master it. And then if you're going to go beyond, when you do your PhD, now you specialize. Right? That's what happens. So how do we build on that? And I'm going to insist on this, PS, because unfortunately, there are far too many examples of where we have it flawed at the foundation before it takes us to this place. So let's get to that place at university, Prof. How do you measure that indeed? Because one would imagine that we're all working in this ecosystem whereby we're bouncing off of each other. You're talking with the primary school teachers, you're talking with the junior secondary school teachers, you're talking with the senior secondary school teachers, you're talking with university lecturers, and you're saying, actually, you know what, we're doing okay. Because it affects the planning if we're not seeing later on the monitoring and evaluation of it and saying, okay, no, guys, maybe we should tweak things here and there. How do you measure learning and say that, okay, we're on the right track?
I'd rather the PS would want to,
Yes,
to start with that, being the planner, and then I can chip in.
Okay.
I'm not only a planner, I'm also a very passionate educator. And we educate to achieve 3 outcomes. In the affective domain, we want to steer feelings, because it is only when you connect with something in a very personal way, with the feeling, that with emotion, that it drives change. And how do we do that? Again, we use case studies, we use practical cases, like bringing students who are going through a very difficult time in a situation that evokes emotion. So you'll never forget how you felt when you saw that child crying, that helpless child crying, and you are provoked to do something about it. So that is the affective domain. Then in the cognitive domain, this is what stimulates thinking, critical thinking, creativity. We refer to the innovations in the universities. The 2 innovations I mentioned, the Dan Kimathi University is already producing chips for our telephones. That comes out of critical thinking, creativity, questioning assumptions, using it to build new knowledge. And then there's the practical aspects. So you have the knowledge you've thought, you have the theory. Can you now move it out of your mind to actually do something with it and build something? And so when we talk about the cement that has come out of this research, the chips that have come out of this creative thinking, the plan to develop a new system that has come out of elaborate thinking, these are all outcomes at different level. At the very basic level, there's comprehension, just remembering things, being able to recall stuff. And this is what we are coming out of with competency-based education.
And that's how we measure learning?
at the very basic level, I say this is what we aim to do. But in the end, what comes out is the graduate and the competencies the graduate has that enable them to get jobs. So employability. You've come out with certain skills, you are able to get a job and perform in that job. You are able to create a business and make a difference in society. So these are the outcomes of learning. You have something that speaks to you, but you also influence behavior change of others by creating that job or by delivering a service that then changes the lives of others. So the ultimate is that you must make a difference in society. That is the ultimate.
Well, I go back to Prof, because you're the chief handler of students. Now that has been stipulated. That is how we are bound to be measuring learning. That is how we are meant to understand the progression of the studying or the education system of a student. The students you have in your fraternity today, and given the changing times in the world, where most of the courses are becoming obsolete, or in the next 10 years, they'll be irrelevant. I don't know whether we have mastered a change of curriculum now at the higher level learning, because at the lower level we have the CBE and the CBC. At the universities, how are we doing in terms of trying to match the courses that we are rolling out with the future needs in the market industry, both innovation, creativity, and employability? How would you say we are doing on that level?
Yes, at the university level, we are very aware that the curriculum has changed, and at the university we are also preparing for that. And we've started by, of course, retooling our teachers, our lecturers. We have under continuous training, so then we are able to have that mindset that we are now moving into a new curriculum. And we are also preparing, obviously, like the faculties of education started a while ago, because then we needed to start producing teachers who can be able to go and teach the new curriculum in high schools.
Yes.
So that is happening. But also at the other levels, we are also looking at the curricula, because then the curriculum needs to change. And this time we are very, very conscious, and we are aware that that change needs to be there. When we move to the 844 system,
yes.
Actually, it's like these students found us in the universities, and we didn't know what to do with them.
Yes.
So we are telling ourselves we don't want to find ourselves in that space again. So I can tell you that we are very busy retooling ourselves and tweaking the curricula to ensure that we are compliant once we start receiving the CBE students. And this is happening not in one university, but in all the universities. And we have under a series of trainings. And I can tell you, like, we've been having a forum, like, for the deans of the schools of education.
Yes.
Right now we have even somebody we have partnered with the partners who are helping us in the training to ensure that the teacher is prepared for these changes.
How would you know? Sorry, Prof, because we're rounding down to the top of it. But how would you know? Because in 2 years, you're going to have those students in university. They are the ones who are currently going to grade 10 in January.
Yes.
They made a selection last term to go into pathways, which we still don't even know if they're going to manage to do that come January 2026, because the system is just belly up. How will we be sure? Wouldn't now be the time to be sure, ready now, 2 years before, because they're going to finish grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. In 2027, in September, you will have your first cohort of CBE students in university. They are the ones who started with this whole thing when they were in grade 3. Are we going to be ready? Truthfully, are we going to be ready?
That's a very good question. Yes, we will be ready. That one I can tell you for sure. the arrangements and the plans and the training and the retouring that we are doing in the universities now geared to ensure that we are ready. But as you know, change is always continuous. It doesn't mean even when those students come to us, we will stop there. We will continue changing, we will continue being ready, we will continue retouring, we will continue training, because then we also have many more teachers joining us as we go along. But I want to say this time round we are more prepared than we have ever been before. And I've drawn the parallel of the 844 when they came. At least we are expecting the first batch in 2029, and we can see we are already working towards that. This workshop that the PS talked about that we're having next week is
preparing for that.
Yes. Okay. But also, as I've seen, we have, like in my university, because I'm also the patron of the deans of the schools of education, we now have a plan that we are rolling out of training our staff members, our faculty members, on how to be prepared to receive these students come 2029.
A quick one, Prof, as we approach top of the hour. Do you think in time university education should be reduced to basic education?
Then that's why we have basic, and that's why we have higher education. Because then basic. I don't know whether that question is philosophical. Or
No, it's actually practical, because I'm looking at developing the human capital, human resource. And Kenya rates very high. We're either between number 4 or 7 in Africa, depending on whom you talk to. And the only way to continue sustaining that momentum of a human resource population that is well developed is by improving the education system and allowing our people to develop more critical thinking and acquire skill sets. So if we have a scenario whereby we have a greater opportunity, according to SDG 4, for most people in Kenya to go to university, that's such that a stone throw will drop and you can hit a person in 5-10 years. I think that will give us a better resource. And
allow me to step in. I know, because we are
seconds, our time is gone.
Yes, allow me to step in. So we are very conscious that the different levels of education have different purposes. For basic, it is just to be able to function in society. And for the higher level, it's to drive economic development and social transformation. Access without quality is a false promise. Quality without access is a broken promise. We will deliver both. And let me just finalize by saying we are looking to integrating technology across all the disciplines, all the domains of education. Whether it is music, we need modern technology. Teaching and learning, we need modern technology. In agriculture, in finance, in commerce, in medicine, it's all about robotics, AI. And as we look towards the future and curriculum review, curriculum redesign, we shall be integrating technologies to match and be globally competitive.
A conversation that leaves us on a bit of a cliffhanger because it can't really ever end. Dr. Beatrice Muganda Inyangala is the Principal Secretary in the State Department of Higher Education. Professor Daniel Mugendi Njeri, Chairperson of the Vice Chancellor's Committee, thank you for joining part of this conversation this morning. Asante Sana at 8:03.
Thank you.
Thank you for spicing our morning.
This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen has emphasized the importance of a community-wide approach to combating religious radicalization, warning that relying solely on police will not be enough to combat the scourge that has claimed thousands of lives across the country. Murkomen, drawing parallels between the Shakahola massacre and the recent Kwabinzaro cult deaths, emphasized the importance of citizens taking greater responsibility for protecting their communities.
What happened to past African tradition where people ask their relatives where they are? How can someone live all the way for about 1,000 kilometers and nobody asks any question where they are with their children? We need to look after each other, and we need to be good neighbors so that we can share this information. Number two, the report that was done by Musimi Task Force recommended that one of the things that needs to be done is for religious institutions to do self-regulation, because people are fearing also heavy government presence in religious regulation, and so religions are expected to do this.
And the CS cited failures in community structures such as the Kenya Alliance of Residents Association, which he said should play a stronger role in gathering and relaying intelligence to security agencies. He noted that in the Shakahola case, radicalization reached the extreme point of mass starvation deaths, yet warning signs went unnoticed.
Even if you want to blame the police, they have come, they are in a compound, they live in an estate, sort of a place. By the time you discover that inside there, people are being starved to death, it is far too late. And remember, in that situation also, it is because of the experience that we got in Shakahola that at least there was some information that was established to bring this connection. So I must say this, without really shifting blame, that to deal with religious radicalization will need a whole society approach.
Several politicians, among them Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka, are set to attend the funeral service of the late lawyer Kyalo Mbombu, which will take place today at the St. John the Evangelist Church on Langata Road from 11 a.m. His body lies at Lee Funeral Home after his life was cut short on Tuesday last week after he was fatally shot while heading home along Magadi Road. The autopsy report conducted by government pathologist Johansen Odor confirmed that he died from excessive bleeding after being shot 8 times. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state of, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people, and we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing politics of conmanship, and even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice. When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human, everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea today. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning, 11 minutes after 8 o'clock, and our conversations continue this morning on the Situation Room. It's Kenya's biggest conversation. It's Education Tuesday, and we're going to continue with that. Over the weekend, quite a number, 10,000 would be the number of teachers that went to State House, and seemingly so, by Monday, we should have sorted out all the issues. No? Okay, well, to help us out in that conversation this morning, we're going to be looking at the State House dialogue and what President Ruto's State House pledge looked like. Mwalimu Amunga you and I are in the same pot because now I have one name that I cannot pronounce properly. Ahanya Labandu is an education advocate and a researcher at the Kenya Women Teachers Association. He's here in the Situation. Good morning, Mwalimu.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
A big pleasure to be here.
Garibu Sana, we're very glad to have you in the room this morning. Also joining us is the director of Tunza Mtoto Coalition, Janet Okoh. She's here this morning. Good morning, Janet.
Good morning.
Karibu Sana.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. We're looking into this conversation around education and essentially what it seemed to be. It is a focus group, and it is one of the focus groups that was called to State House. Teachers specifically is one of the focus groups that was called to State House to kind of sort out the issues or to hear from the teachers what the problem was. But before we go into this conversation today, let's take you to the Benin Republic. Benin, however you would look at it, a country in West Africa that borders Togo on one side, Nigeria on the other, Niger on one side, on the north, as well as Burkina Faso. And one of the things that they said in terms of a proverb, which we'd like to get your interpretation of, is this: the thing which is in the belly of someone is what is in his heart. The thing which is in the belly of someone is what is in his heart. Mwalimu, we'll start with you. Can we hear your interpretation of that?
What's in your belly is what's in your heart. I taught history, and Benin was one of those countries with a lot of historical background, Asante Kotoko. So what I know about what's in your belly is what's in your heart.
Yeah.
Could just be what we normally say in Kenya, that what you have eaten is what you count, and that's what drives you. That is what if somebody feeds you, if somebody puts something in your stomach, that's the person you support. That's the person you.
That's the person who really loves you.
That's my person.
Bas, the one who feeds you is the one who loves you.
Tumbo, that is my person.
I love it.
That's very dangerous.
Why is that dangerous?
Looking at the trend we are seeing in the State House.
Yes.
You know, so has someone studied that proverb so well that they know that people vote with their tummies. Scary. It's very scary.
So how would you interpret it?
I don't know. It just confused me. But I know that I want to link it to the mouth. Because closer in the Bible they say, from the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh.
Yes.
So if you're linking the mouth to the heart to the belly, so what is in the belly is in the heart and will ultimately be brought out from the mouth.
It will come out. Yes. We'll know your intentions.
Yeah, by your mouth.
By your mouth. We'll know.
Still speaks to the State House affair that you raised. The promises.
Yeah.
The abundance of the heart has spoken.
Yeah. That's it.
The mouth has spoken.
Yeah.
Should we now rest easy, knowing that the president has pronounced himself on education issues and matters that we're having? And is that credible enough for all of us Kenyans to agree that from now on our education matters will be fully addressed? Our teachers, the looming strike in a few days or so will be called off because CBAs will be honored among other issues. Should we rest easy?
Well, Janet, I don't know about you.
Right.
But the president's words lately mean nothing, and he has led himself there. It is not me that we've had this thing about lying and lying and lying. Even hear people saying that we have someone that can lie for Africa, if not for the globe. So it is not that there is anything that the president can say today that anybody, I want to see that person that takes the president seriously on what he says. I can take you through a million things that he has said, and he doesn't seem to be bothered by how his mouth runs faster than the actions. Even like I don't know that this visit by the teachers, 10,000 teachers, over 10,000. I'm aware they were above 10,000 teachers.
Yes.
I don't know how that would be called a focused group discussion.
Yes.
It even defies a mob.
Agreed.
I do not know what that is. And therefore, if you pose a question to 10,000 people, and one person is shouting, everyone is, shouting, and then you want to tell us that you made a decision because teachers told you.
Yes.
I think we really are getting to a very difficult situation where we have to call the head of state out. It's very difficult when you sit here and you tell the president that you are lying. It's really a very bad place to find yourself. And the management by which he is managing many other sectors, it is not only education.
Right.
I sat here a few months ago, and I remember one of the things that I said that went viral. I am vindicated today because I said at that particular time, the Teacher Service Commission CEO's tenure was coming to an end, and I warned here, and I said the only institution that was working at that time was the Teacher Service Commission, and I said William Ruto will use this particular chance to bungle the Teacher Service Commission. It has happened. He has bungled the thing. If you listen to the conversation that were happening in State House, I have no problem with anybody visiting. Clearly, you cannot decline. If the president calls you, for breakfast, you would go. But I have a very big problem with the conversations that are led by the president, who we very well know that is not a believer in systems. He is not a believer in structures. He will waste no opportunity to crash any structure that is standing. He believes in himself, his word. He believes in manipulating anything and anybody. How would you call 10,000 teachers to discuss a matter that is squarely in the hands of a constitutional commission such as the Teacher Service Commission? Apart from the fact that you want to sabotage that institution, apart from the fact that you know that you hold that institution by its balls, why else would you find the comfort to discuss matters that are squarely the place of a constitutional commission?
Okay, well, so let's look at some of those issues, Janet, shall we? And also Mwalimu, because these are the things that came out. Again, we like these point agendas. So they met, right? It's being called a historic meeting.
Yes.
10,000 plus. According to Janet, it's more than 10,000.
Yes.
Key presidential commitments, because he then took the opportunity to make some promises. The collective bargaining agreement review is the number one. He said that they acknowledge the need to shorten the CBA period from the current 4 years. We can't be taking 4 years to sort out some of these things. He tasked union leaders. This is now the likes of Akelo Misori and Collins Oyu and the unions for special education teachers. He said, Torome and the such, he said, you know what you will do? Shorten the thing to 2 to 3 years. This 4 years thing is too long. Capitation funds adjustment, you like this one. He says we'll now align with recommendations 2,300 per learner in primary schools and 22,244. I like the way Janet is looking at me. It's not me who said it. In secondary schools.
When did he say when? Did he say when?
He said the first half of the outstanding balance will be cleared in the next financial year. So that's what we're looking at 2026, 2027. Sawa. He said the second half will be settled in the following year, the year after that. I don't know how we're supposed to be going to school in the meantime, but okay. I'm just telling you what they said. The CBC resource centers will be established in every sub-county, not just county headquarters. Leave alone that we have ramshackles for some schools in some areas of the country, but we're going to set up CBC centers. Let me just go at least until 5, okay? Because there were many. He said rollout will be implemented in partnership with MPs using CDF funds. The same CDF funds which MPs are saying is not even enough. The president expressed dissatisfaction with the current medical cover, Edu Afia. It's not the current medical cover. It doesn't exist. He said he has ordered an immediate review to ensure it adequately. Okay, we're not even talking about students. Edu Afia doesn't go. This one is for teachers. Minute, which doesn't exist. Again, has been withdrawn. He said it doesn't like it at all. Remove it. He then went on to say, this one you might like even more than the others we've said before, that affordable housing now for teachers, leave alone the fact that you, Mwalimu, you, Janet, you, Josphat, me, Ndu, everybody inside there, you pay housing levied certain amount, but not what we're going to do. From those houses, 20% of those houses will go to who?
Teachers.
It will go to teachers. And he says they will be now allocated 20% of all affordable housing units. I'm just at number 5. It goes all the way to number 10. So let's just do halfway because of time. No?
Yeah. I normally, when we were at State House, Kewata was invited. Kewata is Kenya Women Teachers Association.
Yes. So you went to State House?
Yeah, we were invited.
Okay.
And some of our officials didn't attend, but when we were there, the president said something. He said his wife, Rachel, the first lady, is a teacher. She went to Kenyatta University, and actually she went to Kenyatta University at the same time with me. She was in the same class, in the same class. And he said his wife taught him one thing before he addressed us, that as a teacher you start from the known to the unknown. That's how you do a lesson plan. He said something like that. And from what I gather and what I think about William Ruto's kind of philosophy when he's approaching people, when he's calling us to those meetings, he has this, I don't know if I should call it faith like, he lives in something like, I don't know if it's evangelistic or it's faith-like, but he works in a way that he wants to say something and hope it will happen, by faith. I don't know if any of you has ever heard of such things in your lifetime. Yeah. So he believes that he speaks it and wants to back it up with something that maybe it will happen by faith, So it's like miracles, he wants to perform a miracle.
Are you baptizing lying?
So I'm talking. By the way, if you follow the faith movement, and I just want to be very honest to our listeners and all of us, if you follow the faith movement, it's more about promises, you will walk. Today, all cripples will walk, all hungry people will be fed, Cancer is gone, You listen to any faith person who comes to preach anywhere. The first thing they'll tell you is, all cripples today will walk. So, when you are listening to William Ruto many times, and that's what I've set my mind always to do, it's like I'm listening to somebody who is doing some faith evangelistic crusade. So he tells us that from today, you teachers, you have reached the best place to be in State House. Your problems are all answered. You are whatever you have had today, I'm answering them. But by the time we left there, Some of us left there the next day.
You were not converted? You left the next day?
Yes, because we were waiting for... we were
10,000. We're waiting for 10,000.
We were waiting for our small allowance,
okay.
And apart from just our small allowance, we had, we are... In my message that I received on my phone, I was told to be at State House Gate at 3 a.m. that morning. 3 a.m. we were supposed to be at the gate C or gate something. So we were waiting from 3 a.m. School buses, all of us were there. Then after we enter and we arrive and the person speaks to us, and after he's finished, we are told now you have to line up and wait according to your names, according to the alphabet. Luckily, Hanya Labandu is a name that comes a bit early.
Yes.
So at least I was sorted maybe. But some of my colleagues left Sunday morning. So what I'm trying to say is this. The issue with the education sector, and I've always said it, and the PS has been here this morning, and me and her have differed on many occasions, is because I say that the Ministry of Education in Kenya and State House at times has become the center of fake news. A lot of fake news is disseminated from the Ministry of Education, and even I saw it also at State House. People are told things that are going to happen that don't actually happen. Whenever you hear about this capitation thing, right now what is happening in our schools is that capitation even of this year has not been completed. Even last year's capitation, the government still owes schools money. So we are listening to lies, and now we have become almost immune.
Mwalimu, when these lies, according to what you're saying, were being peddled at State House, according to you, did anybody stand up and say, hang on, sorry, you're telling us that capitation will be paid? It hasn't been paid for 5 years. There's a 64 billion shilling bill.
Yes.
This year alone, there's a 9,000 shilling bill per student in Kenya to be paid. It hasn't been paid yet.
Yes.
This is the reality. Did anybody stand up on State House as you were lining up? I'm sure there was time. As you were lining up waiting for, I don't know how much you were being given, somebody should have said, sorry, there's still money that's owed. Did that even come out?
Wonderful question. Actually, what happened there, we went there when everything had been choreographed, We were just there to be seen or just to rubber stamp, whatever. These people had already been meeting. They had been discussing. There had been so many meetings at the Ministry of Education, logistics, and all that. So we went there just to be seen.
And on top of that, so that if anybody didn't feel a modicum of regret, that even after that, I assume that of the 10,000 teachers who went, 10,000 plus, half of them were secondary school teachers.
Yeah.
The union leaders stood up and said, because of this, what we have heard, now we are endorsing a second term for our president.
Yeah.
To the wild cheers from the crowd.
Yeah, that's what I was going to come into.
When did you have the opportunity to say no?
Actually, that's not what I was coming to.
Okay.
Actually, the person who announced the 2-term was actually the secretary for NAT.
Yes.
NAT is for primary school teachers.
Yes.
His name is Collins Oyu. So Collins Oyu just stands up. We expected him to say something. We gave him points. Before we went to State House, Collins Oyu, and he's my friend, I believe he's listening to this. We gave Collins our agenda, what we expected the president to him. We wanted him to tell the president. Capitation was one of them. Illegal levies in schools is one of them. Even these deductions like housing levy, we as teachers don't want to be deducted some of those monies. We're not happy with it. There are problems with our medical cover. We expect him to say something about it. Instead, when he went there, Collins Oyu spoke a few things and endorsed the second term for the president. We were disappointed. But
yes, we hear the disappointment, and you could not have been more disappointed than the regular Kenyans, because we trust the teachers to take care of our children. And such a platform apparently was supposed to be a focus group, or to have spoken to policy issues that will improve the quality of education for teachers, for students, the whole financing model, capitation, etc. But then we wonder, as Ndu is asking, you guys reported 3 a.m. as requested, and apparently we hear that it was a miscommunication. The provision for the 10,000 was for the day and night attendance. So don't complain about leaving late. However, of significance is to wonder, at what point do you get to voice how disgruntled you are, and your opinion, so that we can improve seriously, as the Tunza Mtoto would advocate for, the quality of education, the policy making?
I don't know that. I don't know that as we are currently constituted.
Yes.
Because these teachers were mobilized from a union point of view.
Right.
The unions were the mobilizers of the participants. And we have to ask ourselves, how are the unions playing, in the country right now? We do not have unions that will be thinking about the big picture. And we do not have unions that are wondering, where is this handout coming from? And how is it going to bite us? Because we exist to advocate for more and more and more for our teachers. So when we seem also as a profession to be rubber stamping corruption, and all this money, because I want to put it out here that William is not spending his money. 3 years ago, he was running around the country calling himself a hustler. Where could he be getting 200 million to be spending in a day? It is theft of public resources. These people have been deducted money from tax only for them to be paraded here embarrassingly in State House. Yes. Bastardization of very, very noble profession. Really, teachers have and I don't say that going to State House really is bad, but the conversation that happened in State House is absurd. How do you expect the conversation not to revolve around when the president is saying that from next year, he's an expert in saying from next week for six months to come. How about asking, hey, if we are in your third year, in your first year, in your second year, why didn't you do the things that you're telling us now that at most, or even at worst, we are expecting the president to be giving a scorecard, an education scorecard, because there is nobody else who is more of a stakeholder in education than the teachers. 10,000 of them sitting before you, and you don't even have an opportunity of giving a scorecard. You are a hoax. You are a fake. The only thing that you thrive in is blackmailing people and telling them, Kenyans really want to ask the president very interesting questions. Right. At what point are the houses yours that you're dishing out? At what point are they yours that you're dishing out? These very teachers have been deducted 1.5% of their gross. So at what point are we clapping at you when you're saying that 20% you will gift it unto us? Why is the president imagining that everybody in this country is so stupid and he's the only sharp person in this country? And it is no. And we're telling the president, stop pushing us to have uncomfortable conversations with you. We are used to respectable people occupying those places. We are used to having conversations about governance. I don't care whether he's so saved or he's so biblical or he sees visions. That is not what we are talking about. We are talking about implementing a constitution. We are talking about governing a country. What does governing a country look like? It looks like accountability. It looks like you explaining to us, I have 200 million that I have gotten from place X. Because this is the same person who is telling Kenyans, tighten your belts. Tighten your belts. I mean, why is the president leading us to this place that he's leading us? It is going to become very unacceptable of William Ruto to be referred to as the head of state. With all due respect, we have seen heads of state. This is not the conduct. And you know what? The good thing is, let people go to State House and collect this money. And when they remain silent, in future, let them not ask questions. I'm really waiting for teachers because I've seen a strike notice or something.
Yes.
I want to look at them saying that they want money. And I will tell them, no, you went to State House and collected money. You are supporters. I'm seeing a schedule here on this paper today. First August, border. Second, this is 1 billion. On this paper, this is 1 billion Kenya shillings. Do you know that for William Ruto to spend 80 shillings on a primary school child, one child, 80 shillings per term? Not so.
Yeah,
it is crisis.
Sometimes it's actually 23 shillings.
23 shillings per child is crisis. But he cannot bat his eye to dish handouts 10,000. We are not asking William, where are you getting this money? We are not asking William, why are you dishing our houses? In fact, as a matter of fact, Kenyans need to move to court and wonder what is the criteria for apportioning these houses that we are being deducted for. There doesn't seem to be criteria. Tomorrow preachers will be called to State House. They will be given 15%. What will you be given, you taxpayer?
Mwalimu, as you say what you want to say, because I agree, footballers were given a portion of it. They were to get houses as well.
Who else? When are journalists going?
A promise, Mwalimu.
Yes.
A promise is a comfort to a fool. And what is coming out is that everybody was fooled from that teachers' meeting. You pronounce yourself very well that the NAT secretary did not present what you wanted him to present as union members. So I wonder when the NAT election is coming up and whether you're going to practice accountability when serving that secretary as what he deserves.
Now, that's a very great... Actually, that's where I was heading to.
Okay.
Now, what happens in this country, and especially unions, and Janet has put it very well, and Janet knows this. Our unions are dependent on the government. We have something in the unions we call oxygen. Oxygen is our union dues. These are monies that are deducted from teachers, then channeled through TSC to various unions. That's why you saw heckling at the State House meeting between NAT and CUPET, because they are fighting over the so-called junior secondary school teachers.
Yes.
Why should they be domiciled? Maybe in primary. And if they're in primary, that means their union dues will go to NAT. If they're in secondary, that means their union dues
follow the money every time you follow the money.
The issue that was happening at State House was about oxygen. Now, and that's what I want to talk about now. You have asked a very good question. So at what point do we teachers or we professionals now really air our views? Because our unions, being dependent on oxygen from the State House, from the government, cannot air those views openly and genuinely. One person tried, a friend of mine whom I worked with, I was his PA, and I was his communication officer at NAT headquarters. His name is Wilson Sosion. Actually, the Sosion tried at his level best to try and work in terms of, just giving policy and running around with it. But he failed when oxygen was cut off from him. Union dues were not sent to NAT for almost 6 months. NAT was almost dead. Actually, what happened, for him to be removed, that oxygen, once it was deducted, the same teachers who vote were now socialized to know that the person who has made us lose our union dues is Sosion. So Sosion had to go. That's why he was voted out, if you don't know. And the person who came in already had been socialized, and he had enough resources to give out to those teachers so that they could vote for him. So as genuine teachers, and I want to tell you this, Janet, the reason why we are having problems with unions is because of oxygen. So it should reach a place, associations, things like what you saw happening as something called Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association, Kenya Primary Schools, those are professional associations. Those are the ones which seem to come out properly with an agenda. And groups like groups that Janet Okoh has also been involved in, they seem to be the ones that carry out a message that we as teachers and professionals want to actually are going through. So what we can put across to Kenyans is this: as long as that methali that we have had today from Benin,
yes,
that
from the stomach,
from the what is in your belly,
what is in your belly controls your heart. That is how our unions operate. You have something in the belly, we know now how to talk, and we can shout 2 term, even 3 term, even a century term. But as long as something is in our stomach, and so that way we can't run a union, and that way we can't air our grievances in a proper way. And the president knows that. The president knows how to control these people, how to control this kind of political side of our unions. It is a matter of carrot and stick. Once you have this, you will sing this song. So that is what you saw at State House. It was nothing about ideology. It was nothing about policy. It was about election campaign for 2027. It was just about politics.
So, Janet, it had nothing to do with the crisis that education is currently in this country. It had nothing to do with the teacher crisis. It had nothing to do with the inadvertent crisis that grade 9s currently are going to meet when they go to grade 10 next year. Had nothing to do with capitation issues.
It had everything to do with one thing: SHA. The president is very busy mobilizing everybody, and they were mobilized. And moving forward, teachers are now not going to be in minute, is it?
Yeah.
They will now move to SHA. And there has to be a personal interest that the president is pursuing. It's in the public domain. But I'm really glad, because one thing I know about teachers is their numbers might just be what will help Kenyans dismantle SHA. Because let them come in, and then they now start enjoying what other Kenyans are enjoying in SHA. And 2-3 months down the line, you will hear what will happen. So I'm really glad, because sometimes they say that I don't know how to say it in English, that but there's a proverb from where I come from, that when a knife becomes too sharp, it cuts the one that sharpened it. So I'm really happy that one of the things that is really making me so happy is that the president managed to mobilize the teachers to get into to ditch Minute and to get into SHA. And this focused group discussion, as you guys are calling it, I have never seen a focused group discussion of 10,000 plus.
It's quite a large focus
people.
group. Yeah.
That was very, very huge.
Yeah.
Right.
And asking, do you want Minute or SHA? And you know, they will say SHA because their stomachs.
No, I want to say something there. Janet, let me say something here. Actually, that meeting was about the insurance cover for teachers.
Yes.
But I don't think it's about SHA, because after President completely dismantled Minette, he told us he's giving us time. We give him some time. He's working on something. Actually, let me tell you my honest opinion. Already teachers are in SHA because, we contribute to SHA. We contribute to two schemes. We have the comprehensive one, which is called Minette, where it treats us, it has other things that. Then we have the national one, which is called SHA. So we have deducted both. Okay. But now, I have a feeling, Janet, the president has an idea of another player coming in. He just doesn't want this player called Minette. It is a 15 billion, actually now it's a 19 billion medical cover per annum. Minette has had it now for 7 years. Now this time round, it is supposed to end this October. Another player is supposed to come in. And I can tell you it's about business. You are right about
it's business.
This meeting was about socializing teachers out of Minette. It was actually what we can call an annual delegates meeting, because the president now, through something called acclamation, asked them, do you want us to continue with this medical cover? After you had read out already the things that he feels,
said no.
After you had read out things like it delays you, it doesn't give you the best services, it seems socialized us.
And you gave a resolution.
And so all of us said, no, you want Mutoke to talk. So, it became a matter of howling and heckling. And from what I can say, the president has some players.
So there was an agenda, and the teachers on that day.
If you say it's a 17 billion deal,
19
billion deal.
Yeah.
If a man spends 200 million in a day for 17 billion, you guys.
So here we are saying that the agenda at the end of the day was to change a structure under which health comes in, but it's a business for somebody, and then teachers just happen to be the currency that would buy this new thing. Did you realize that you are being used?
We realized later. We actually
collected the 10,000.
Yes, because it is not our union leaders who are socializing us. They are not the ones who are mobilizing us to tell us to go out of the cover. This was something like it had been very well planned, very well choreographed. The teachers will come in. We shall talk about this. But the main agenda is the 19 billion medical cover for teachers. And the president, for those who may not know, he has been a player in the insurance industry. I can say it here. He has been with Amaco. Actually, in our circles in the unions, we are being told
that Amaco
may be coming in to provide the comprehensive cover. Don't forget, there's the national cover, then there's a comprehensive cover. Right. Parliamentarians have it. All these other people have it. Yeah. Police have it. So what we're going to do, we will remain in SHA, yes, but we'll also be supplemented with another player. Now, this player is now what we are fighting over. That's where they're fighting over.
And that is what the meeting was about.
That's what the meeting was about.
A sad state for our Kenyans, because at the end of the day, we still have an educational crisis from the whole system, from the funding, from the personnel. So it begs, if teachers could be fooled, what happens to our students?
No, and I think I really like the temple out there with Kenyans who are able to see, and even the teachers, because when they were in State House, still others were texting and saying, I don't even think that some of them actually even went just for the State House. Not many people have been there, so there's some people who just went to see.
They want a field trip
to just feel, and plus it then really hurt. So the folly is when the president is sitting here today and probably thinking that he has bought over all the teachers. When every teacher looks at his or her payslip, there is a conversation they want to have with the president, and they were not allowed to have that conversation with the president. So it was.
What do you say they were not allowed? What does that mean?
Because he was the speaker.
Was the main speaker.
He was the main speaker.
He took the stage. Actually, when he came in, he didn't go to his seat. He immediately started addressing us.
Yes.
He took over and went on and on. Then finally said, now I can take some few questions.
You see?
And the people had to read the questions or to take the speech who had already been selected. So people like us, we wouldn't say anything there.
And you see also in terms of setup and protocol, when these teachers were hosted, you're in someone's place. This meeting was not in a neutral ground. So you cannot really even expect that the teachers would probably be themselves. You have been hosted by somebody. And I think generally what we are saying is that 3 years down the line, because William has been president for 3 years, and we have seen a pattern. When he came in, it was excuse after excuse after excuse. And you remember a slogan that was going around? Give us time to work. We gave time to work. We did not find money came in. We did not find.
When we came in, there was no money in the thing.
When we came in, there were empty coffers. After that, went around, flew like for 3-4 months. At about the 8th month, they started saying, blaming the past government. This went wrong because the past government did. 1 year down the line, that now story is no longer selling, and no work has been done. 2 years down the line, no work has been done. Now we enter year 3. We are past year 3. Brand new promises, because now 2025 is, where is the work? Where is the scorecard? What exactly are you doing about accountability? What are you doing about corruption? What solutions have you introduced, in the sector, for an example? And it is zero. So what do? We enter the mood that my friend here has described very well. That of faith and religionizing things that are supposed to be logical, and escaping the whole accountability conversation. And here it is. I have said here severally that there are two sectors that do not lie. You can lie to us that we are now harvesting a lot of maize because you brought fertilizer and take credit when there is a bumper harvest in Kitale. That you can get away with. But education and health do not forgive. Education and health do not forgive. Right now, more than ever, we have school dropouts, and he can confirm that. Because when money is not being paid to schools, what happens? The teachers are strained. You cannot send away learners so that you do not give the government a bad name. So it is just the quality of education has gone down. And sadly, no one measures quality. How is quality measured? Quality is measured by the people that you let out of the system. The people, by 10 years, 7 years, you will be interacting with people that you wonder, did they ever go to school? But they did, and they did not, because they were 4 weeks in, 2 weeks away, 4 weeks in, 2 weeks away. And that is the sad state of affairs. Worst of all is having a president who swore to protect the constitution, and instead of doing that, he is thinking that he can do that by outsmarting people. I want to call upon Kenyans, really, let us stand firm and let us say what is enough is enough. If somebody can really walk over the education of your children, if someone can walk over the health of your most vulnerable, what else can they not do?
Well, our viewers are saying, Janet, calm down. I know the country is burning, the situation room is on fire. But let me ask Mwalimu, because Janet is on point, and I do agree with you. Did it have to take a State House visit for all these promises to be pronounced? Yet, in my opinion, and I think a lot of Kenyans do agree, all these matters are constitutional. They are constitutional organs that are supposed to address retirement benefits, everything.
TSC.
Why did it have to take a State House visit for them to be pronounced?
Because there were some other interests at play. But actually, as you put it, matters salary cannot be discussed at State House. We have got the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, which discusses. Actually, it is the one that nowadays even unions have no work in terms of salary, because the SRC is the one that actually pens the final thing that finally we receive as teachers. Then we have issues to do with the ministry itself. The ministry itself is an organ of government that's supposed to come up with policies. Then the Teacher Service Commission, and then there's Parliament. You see some of those things that were being discussed there. As long as there's no budget for them, that's why you see saying in the next financial year, because Parliament has to approve a certain budget there. So going to State House was not the stage or the platform to answer our problems. State House was a cover-up. State House was something stage managed by the president and the political elite in this country to kind of hoodwink teachers that something is going on when actually nothing is going on. The truth of the matter is, I am on the ground. I have been in class for almost 30 years. And in class, I can tell you the truth of the matter. Something like what we call CBC in our public schools is not there. what you really call skill-based curriculum is not there. Because if you don't have the teachers to do it, you can't deliver it. What you hear being referred to as junior school is a scam. It's not there. Because a teacher like me, when I was at college, I was trained to teach literature and history, for example. Then when I'm recruited to go and teach junior school, I'm told to teach biology, chem, whatever, all those things. I can't teach, and I'm not even retooled. Right now, we in what we are calling the senior school now, where you teach high school. We have not even been retooled. We don't even know what CBC is all about. We are finishing this year the former curriculum, 844. Our class is ending next year, that is. But as I speak to you right now, nobody has retooled us. Nobody has told us what CBC will entail.
But we have just had a conversation here with the PS who told us that retooling is happening and that extra training is taking place. She has just told us. We had a conversation from 7 to 8
as we're coming here.
Yes, that retooling is happening for teachers at different levels.
And I have said it on this show, and I'll repeat again. Ministry of Education has been the disseminator of fake information in this country for many years. And when you see these people come here and to talk the way they talk, many times if you put them to task, even ask them, have you visited a classroom? When were you last at Olympic Primary School classroom in Nairobi? When did you visit a Shivinga Primary School in Huisero? To find out what exactly is going on. Do you know, Janet, that what we used to call inspectors, quality assurance people in schools coming from the ministry where the person who has been sitting here is supposed to be managing are no longer there. We don't have any those quality assurance people coming to schools to inspect the curriculum itself. So what we are saying is this. There's a lot of fake news going on about education. We teachers who are on the ground, and I can tell you, education is made up of 3 things. Quality tools, quality teachers, well-paid teachers, well-remunerated, and then quality environment. That's the only time you can achieve quality education. If you don't have those 3 things, you can't. And I can tell you, as of now, none of those things are quality. That's why that's why our children get E's. Go to any statistics, anywhere. Look for any exam that has been done in this country. Everything is below expectation. E's are more than A's, more than B's. And most of our children are D material. Why?
Why?
Because education
the preparation process.
We have too many people sitting in offices wearing ties like this one of mine, coming to these studios and disseminating fake information about what's happening in schools. When we teachers who are in schools are not even consulted.
And let's talk about the TSC.
Okay.
Because TSC is actually what holds everything together. And instead of the president really taking his time to try and put that institution to order.
Yes.
I know it's absurd that when I said here that the president was going to bastardize the succession of TSC, many people said, what are you saying? Isn't it happening right now? We have a moribund case that was sponsored in Mombasa to block the process, the recruitment process of TSC. Because why? Find out who is the acting TSC CEO right now. And it is a fact. The president thinks that people do not see these things. We see them.
Who is we know who the acting
CEO
know who the
acting CEO of TSC is.
But connect the dots, Janet.
I'm connecting the dots because every strategic space, the president has made sure that somebody from his village, yes, and I'm saying this, don't call me tribal. Facts are facts, and they will remain as such. That is what is happening in TSC. And that is why today we do not have a statement from the Teacher Service Commission saying all that took place in State House were shenanigans, because this is an independent commission, like what we usually see the judiciary doing. The commission cannot be ordered left and forth. What do you mean when you say that we are going to set up a committee between TSC and the Ministry of Education to look into promotion of teachers?
Yes.
What has the Ministry of Education got to do with promotion of teachers?
And
this is squarely a function of the Teacher Service Commission. So this is the characteristic of a man that we have known, that he was actually going to put his stooge in Teacher Service Commission, so that 3/4 of the recruitment of teachers, we know where these things are going. When did you ever find the history of TSC that we have known? Have you ever we have had members of parliament saying on podiums that I was given forms to come and distribute in my village. Why are we stepping on institutions that people have worked so hard to build? Can't the president for once just respect the constitution? Can't he let institutions that are working to work? Must he go down with every other institution? You know, it's really painful when they're sitting down there and the president is giving instructions to a commission that is established by Article 237 of the Constitution. And he's saying, TSC, go and form a committee. Who are you? You don't have those powers. Why are you taking us to more Yera days?
And why then?
Who are you?
But surely, we have... And I'm a bit worried here because the life of our children... in terms of an education, is being put in the hands of teachers who went to State House, 10,000 of them, and listened to this, what you're calling balderdash. Maybe you didn't use those words, but okay. But they're listening to this and taking it. So shouldn't we be more worried about our children who are being taught by the teachers, Mwalimu, who went and listened to all of these things? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, till 10. And everybody, there's nobody who didn't clap. Over the weekend. And then we're going to return to class on Monday and teach our children.
Can you believe
on that psyche?
Can you believe recommendation? Is it 3 or 4 that the president has said that they look into the CBA and they shorten it? What exactly is wrong with the president? Are you telling us that CBA was some concocted? They didn't look at the economic realities. They didn't look at. There were no factors they considered. They just went ahead and said 3 or 4 years, and now you're ordering them. Can you go? CBAs are sacred. CBAs are here. Where is he coming from to suggest? I have a problem with somebody who thinks that he can overstep legal processes, constitutional processes. We have a problem with them.
But that's okay, Janet.
Yes.
He said this. He made these proclamations. But there were 10,000 plus people who listened to him and applauded him. For me, that's the problem. He can say whatever he wants to say. But the people, the practitioners and the deliverers of education were there. We are angry.
Why wasn't this meeting in Crown Plaza? When you invite somebody in your home,
a little bit more worried that the agents of education in this country primarily are teachers.
Yes.
The stakeholders primarily are the students.
Yes.
So please help me understand why it was okay to be accepting of these things for the whole day until 3 a.m. the next morning. Why?
I'll say it.
Yes.
We teachers are also not zombies. It's not that we are fools, that we just went there to clap and maybe we just
But
clapped.
that's what we saw.
Oh, we clapped, yes.
At the joke. You clapped at the joke.
We could have been laughing at him, you may think that we are laughing in support, but we could be laughing at what he's saying. So at the end of the day, I can say this. I'm one of the, Janet will tell you, I'm a writer and a blogger for teachers. I'm one of the most serious bloggers in teachers forums, right? And I've been following what teachers have been saying about what happened at State House. I can tell you 90% of what the feedback I'm getting, they were not happy with whatever was spoken there. Even the officials of NAT and CUPET today, and I talked to so many of them, are in danger, grave danger. Elections are coming. This coming December, we have general, what we normally call annual delegates meeting.
Yes.
Omboko Milemba comes from my village. He's the chairman of CUPET. People almost wanted to go and burn his house. He's my friend. Teachers. So, Collins, or you cannot speak, cannot even sit in a social joint with teachers right now because of what happened at State House. So, clapping, we were just clapping. But our hearts were not converted. And I've told you something. When you deal with President William Ruto, deal with a man who is like a preacher, like one of these guys who promises you heaven. My father's house has many houses and many rooms.
I'm giving you 20%.
I'm giving you 20%. This is a preacher. This is a person who you can believe him or not believe him. If you believe him, fine, have faith. If you don't believe him like me, most times I don't believe him, and most of us teachers don't believe him. And I can tell you, come 2027,
yes,
if teachers were to vote, even despite having gone to State House, I can tell you, Janet, I can face you now.
The one term.
We will vote him out.
We will believe you if you practice that in your upcoming NAT elections.
Watch us.
And
watch
other union elections. Because if you are misrepresented in that meeting by your union leaders, you should start there as you work towards 2027. Now, Mwalimu, it is sad that we are talking about the president coming out as this messianic person who says, your faith has healed you. A presidential decree will change the education system, which we know is not true because we are guided and governed by a constitution.
Sure.
And we know our constitution has no issues. Your union regulations and bylaws are intact. Our problem is constitutionalism, whereby there is misuse and abuse of offices, both ends, the people who visit the office and people who work in the offices. Now, the third part is that the person we are talking about, whom we are saying lied, mispromised, overpromised, is a president and the head of state. When such a state as Kenya is being led by such a person, where are we heading as a country? When we know education is an equalizer, when we know we need to not just change our curriculum, but also capacity build the institutions and the personnel, and yet we make mockery of that industry, where are we heading as a country?
We are heading in a very... Janet and I have had the opportunity to work at the Nairobi Education Department, and I was on the board of bursaries for quite some time. And that question you've asked me, I can answer it by using my stay at the board's education board, at the, what do they call it, bursary board.
Right.
This country's education sector has been politicized. It has been taken over by privateers and commercialists. The people you see talk so much and do so much, there's a lot of business going on in our education sector. The interest that you saw at play at the State House were not just, it was also about education, as Janet put it. And most of these things that are happening is about money. MPs are getting something called CDF kitty to do education. Governor Sakaja was telling us in a meeting that he is going to give us 2 billion to spend on bursaries. That's education. Women Rep Nairobi may be doing the same thing. The MCS in Nairobi wanted to overthrow Sakaja because they believe he has given them money that's supposed to go for bursaries for education. Now, what I'm trying to say is this. There are so many players in the education sector. Education sector has been taken over by cartels, by people who have nothing to do with education. Most of them, their children are not in anywhere near the Kenyan schools or Kenyan curriculum. They have taken their children in other places. So what we are seeing is a circus. It's like a movie. It's like a drama. Education in this Kenya is like a drama, whereby people are actors. Like Shakespeare said, everyone is just doing they're acting their role. The teachers also, we are just kind of just going through our motions, go to school in the morning, and I know my teacher, go home quickly, back to your children and your wife, teach and go home. Don't bother about anything else. The teachers used to see those days, who will mentor you, will be a role model to you, who will make you want to be somebody in life. We are no longer there. The type of teachers we have today, I am one of them, I'm here. Ours is to earn and try to keep safe and go back to your house.
What is it that has made those
given up? We have given up. We have tried. There's somebody, when the students started burning schools, when students started invading, even when the Gen Z revolution started happening, these people you see in Gen Zs were my students in school. The education, when the people in parliament, the MPs, decided that there should be no corporal punishment, we teachers had no role, almost no role with our children in school. So many things, we teachers have been left undressed. We are paid poorly. The children are better than us in terms of rights. They have better rights than we teachers. So all I can tell you for now is that the education sector is a theater of the absurd. It is a failure.
Yeah. Now, Janet, I frown at and I want to pick from where Mwalimu has left it, that I frown at the thought that the Gen Z revolution is as a result of the indiscipline of the young kids or the Gen Zs, because in my opinion, I think it is a failed system that has frustrated them, socially, economically, and one of the elements, one of the aspects is the education system. They went through a free education, which, our late President Mwai Kibaki did very well to establish. But then along the way, the focus changed, and the objectivity of that changed. And now we have people who are learned out in the streets. They cannot land job. The creativity, you would say, is wanting because the capacitation was not very well done. So from where you stand, Tunza Mtoto or rescuing any child in terms of education, what would be the way forward for us as a country?
I'm feeling very hopeful. Especially when I think about the majority of Kenyans who are youth and seeing the behavior of the youth. I want to contend here that the 10,000 teachers that were invited to State House, you could really find out, and I would really want to hear from him. Probably if we had any young person there, I don't even think they could form 10%. So there's a certain thinking that the older people are carrying. Calling these people children is misled. At the ballot, we are all age mates at the ballot. As long as when you attain the age of 18, all of us now become age mates in terms of our rights and our electoral rights, which is something that the political class has really tried to shred. You've had them being called names. They've been called evil children, and the parents like us, we have been told that we have brought up our children badly. And I think there's something that is fading away. One of the things that is fading away is the ability for them to buy into the lies that we have been buying. I can bet you if we had 30% of Gen Zs in that shenanigans of a meeting in State House, it could have not ended the way it did.
It did.
Because the good thing about our children is that they're analytical. They're able to ask, excuse me,
what does that mean?
No, you are not the Salaries and Remunerations Commission. Where are you coming from to even comment on matters CBA? Excuse me, there is Teacher Service Commission, that is the institution that looks at promotion.
How about you let them do their job?
Now, that is the kind of voter, that we have right now.
Yeah.
And as the older generation, a good number of us do not want to ask those questions. And we still want to call these people children. If you were asked, between the person that is asking and the person that is not, who is a child?
Oh, that's
we have to take some humility. We have to take some humility and accept that these children have told us, our children are telling us, we are not letting you lead this country in the direction that we have seen the choices that you have made. We have seen the choices that you have made. And we are telling you they are bad choices. And 2027, we are going to show you the way. Because I am very sure there is somebody that does not have a chance in the house. You can compensate. And you see this unconstitutionalism that we are talking about has been manifest. This is the same president who was forming some committee to investigate some debt. We know William. He does not solve any problem. He just forms a team to manage people. And we are telling him, no, we are not our parents either.
Okay.
You cannot manage us. He went ahead to form a committee for compensation. What is a whole commission, the Kenya National Human Rights Commission, supposed to do? We are supposed to be coming from a place of what has the commission done, so that then there are gaps. Therefore, because of these gaps, I am forming this team. But I believe in unconstitutionalism. The Gen Zs are saying we are not proceeding like this, and I'm happy because they are backed by the millennials. Please, this is a moment that we have to tell each other the truth, and we have to say, Ndu, this is our country.
All right.
We cannot glorify Messianism. We don't want William Ruto to save us from anything apart from saving us from himself.
We're going to take a break on that note because this conversation continues even after this. And added to this conversation will be Onesmus Maluki, who is the UWASU organizing secretary. The folks at the university have said they will be going on strike in a minute. Mwalimu, were the higher education teachers, lecturers also at this meeting? They were there?
No, they were not invited.
They were not invited for good reason, perhaps. Let's extend this conversation and let's have Maluki join us after this short break. It's 9:07. The education conversation on the Situation Room continues after this short break. Don't go away, either one of you. Sawa, in a minute.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state of, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Looking for convenience, variety, and speed all in one place? Welcome to Digger Shop, the official e-commerce platform by Standard Group PLC. From the latest electronics and fashion must-haves to home essentials and unique Kenyan crafts, we've got it all. And guess what? Enjoy countrywide delivery within 48 hours straight to your doorstep. Shop smart, shop secure, and shop with confidence. Visit shop.digger.co.ke. That is shop.digger.co.ke. Digger Shop. Dig it, shop it, love it.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 SpiceFM.
Tuesday, right here on the Situation Room, and we're looking at a number of issues ranging from what happened at State House with the visit of teachers, and before that, looking at higher education and what happens with that. And joining us this morning as we continue this conversation is the UASU organizing Secretary Onesimus Maluki. He joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Very well.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
This is the frying pan, and then this is the fire. So now we are entering into all of it.
Wonderful.
Because the education system, we've looked at it for a minute, it's for a while now, and there's some things that are not going according to plan. Universities are telling us that if things are not paid, we will go on strike. That's interesting, because over the weekend, about, what was the calculation? How about 100 million shillings was spent.
Okay, officials got more than 10,000.
Oh, here we go. Okay. So, look at Janice. So, 10,000 teachers or so got about 10,000 bob each. So about 100 million shillings at that level. And then beyond that, some more money was spent. It does to you what it does when you suck on a lemon. You feel a bit sour in the mouth when you hear about it. And when staff unions at the university are saying, you know what, if we're not paid, we're going to go on strike. That forms the basis of our conversation this hour, because then we're looking at other deepening issues. But before we do that, I want to tell you a proverb that comes from the people of Benin. Our two other guests have already been able, Janet and Malimu have been able to give us their opinion about that. I would like to hear how you would interpret this before we continue. The people of Benin say that the thing which is in your belly the thing which is in the belly of someone is what is in his heart. The thing that is in the belly of someone is what is in his heart. How would you interpret that?
Wow, that's interesting. And I think that connects very well with, of course, what you've just said today, what is happening in our country. We are crying, but what you can see moving around is something different from what we could expect. We are crying in education sector, but you can see there are things that are happening. So I think that our wisdom connects to exactly what is happening in our country right now. And I think exactly what is in your belly is what is in your heart. Wow. I think then it means what we have is exactly what we are thinking. And I would also say that that also connects to what do we exactly give priority. and especially in this case in our education sector.
Absolutely.
What comes first? And I think maybe we might be getting our priorities wrong, because I think there are things that we're doing which seems not to be going right, especially in our sector.
Okay, so as you've said that, I mean, it's a great interpretation, and just looking at that, but as looking at stories that are being carried today of conversations that have been had for some time. A couple of months ago, we saw that the unions were going to, at the university level, were going to go on strike. There was a conversation that was had, and everybody said, okay, fine, let's give it some time and see what's going to happen. Well, it seems that varsity dons are set to paralyze learning over salary arrears. That's happening within universities. But then if you look at what's happening money coming into the universities, we've have to ask the question in terms of what's going on. The arrears comprise of 2.73 billion shillings from phase 2 of the 2021-2025 collective bargaining agreement that was due in July. So we say 2 months ago, it was due in July. Sure. They said, okay, let's give it some months. And also the 8.8 billion shillings outstanding from the 2017 to 2021 CBA.
Correct.
According to Constantine Wasonga, he said, the strike is on. We are downing our tools come midnight tomorrow, that's today, as no intervention by the government has been forthcoming concerning our demands. He's your Secretary General, and he said, you know what, this is what we are doing. And we said, and I remember, because they sang the songs of Solidarity Forever in July and said that we are actually going on strike. They had a conversation. After that, the conversation now has come to the place where we are in September, and you as the organizing secretary are echoing the words of the Secretary General, who is saying, yes, we're going on strike. I want to connect this directly to what happened at State House over the weekend. There was a 10-point, I don't want to call it an agenda, but there was a 10 points, maybe Mwalimu can explain.
Yes,
there were 10 points. And one of them was reducing the time frame of the CBAs. Yeah. They're currently at 4 years. The president said, you know what, this takes too long. Why should we take so long to figure things out? Let's make it 2-3 years, and has tasked the unions, and I don't know, WAS was not there because maybe now we're dealing with, higher education. But in general, the principle is we're going to reduce the number of years within which this collective bargaining agreement can be lived out. It is on the back of a CBA that this strike that's going on from today is happening. That the 2017-2021 CBA, whether it was 4 years, 10 years, that has not been honored. We're in another CBA right now, still has not been honored. We're looking at almost 10 billion shillings in arrears on those CBAs. And this is where we are today. But there were folks at State House who got 100 million shillings on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah, officials like you.
So, is the strike because we know there is money and you're not paying us, or because we've given you enough time and you've not been able to fulfill your promises in that time?
Thank you. Of course, we know there's money, and we're saying there's money, and we know there's money. But that's not why we're going on strike, because money will always be there. The reason why we're going on strike is because we are running out of patience, as you have correctly put it. The arrears that we are talking about dates back to 2017, surely. We have waited for this money since 2017. Nothing is happening. Just last year, we went on strike twice for the 2021-2025 national CBA. We signed the return to work formula. We managed to bring an interministerial committee together, compromising the CS Education, CS Live, and their peers. And we all agreed that they are going to pay us, they paid us part of the money. Then the other one, they said, look, we don't have money. We can only pay it in three payments. And we said that was okay. So they paid the first one. The second phase was to come on July 1st. July 1st came. They have just told us that it was factored in the budget of the financial year 2020, the last financial year, and therefore we expected to receive the money. 3 months down the line, they're only saying next month we are talking to the Treasury. Next week we have this letter, and you're saying enough is enough. So from midnight we are going on strike, and this strike is unstoppable. Either we get the money or the world come to an end.
But schools are opening. Schools have. This is September. Universities are opening.
Yes.
This next week.
Yes.
But no.
What you will understand is that we as lecturers, professors, we also parents. We also have our kids. We are also expected to pay fees. Where are we going to get the fees to pay for our kids if the government is not paying us? So even as we talk about kids coming, we are also parents. Our kids are also there. We are expected to pay fees. So pay us our money so that we can also get money to pay school fees for our kids.
But so that perhaps we can understand as Kenyans the extent of unfulfillment that you're experiencing. And we, dues should be paid. A promise is a debt, but now a promise is a comfort to a fool when it comes to the teachers and the 10 promises. Wow. What is the last promise that you got on the payment?
And who promised? I'm keen on who promised.
And who promised?
Who promised you?
Who promised?
Yes.
Well, the promise was done on a return to work formula. It is a signed agreement deposited in court that is going to be paid in 3 tranches. So they paid the first one. The second one was supposed to be paid on 1st of July this year. It's a document that is signed in
Which year?
CBA this year. That is 3 months ago. It's a signed document. There is a legal document registered in court. We signed with them. And we registered the document in court. And therefore, when before July, we went to them and said to the PS, July is coming,
yes,
you have our money. And they said, no problem, it has already been factored in the budget, so the money is coming. So come July, they said, we've written a letter to the Treasury, we've given authority to spend, we are giving you the money. The story goes round and round and round. And
hang on there.
Okay.
So because this is a promise that was made.
Right.
And by the time the promise was being made, the money was not in the budget. You were told that the money will be factored in the budget.
Yes.
So, Mwalimu, you also went in.
Yes.
And you were told that the money will be factored in the budget. So if someone has a problem fulfilling promises that they have already made, like this one in particular, why are you getting the energy to promise even more? Because I'm imagining the teachers are tenfold what the lecturers are.
Yeah.
So where is the background? Where is the president coming from? By even imagine these teachers were not only promised, they were also told, even that CBA, we cannot implement it in 4 years. It's too long. Why can't we shorten it? So the president knows that there is money. But where is the money going? 200 million every day must be spent on handouts. So he's actually right by promising. He knows that there is money. Our problem is, and where we must be buttressing and really asking, are we using the money that we have in systemic issues? Like, for example, when someone is denying you your salary, someone walked away with 10,000 in cash to go and feel nice and appropriate, it to some political capital for somebody. So I agree with you, absolutely, that in this country, we have got the money. The same energy that was used to promise you money, we want to see the same energy being used to fulfill those promises. Because before you know it, the teachers will also fall in line, asking also for the promises that they were made. Unfortunately, Kenyans are not able to ask, where is the 300 shillings gas that you also told us that you will give us? If everybody was to line up and ask the president what they promised, he would be bankrupt today.
Surprising, it's not just the promises. In fact, even salaries, you realize that in public universities, their salaries come very late. Others don't get their salaries. Others have been getting their salaries paid 50% of their salaries because the government is not able to pay our salaries in full. Very few universities are right now able to pay, the gross salary. They pay the net, and therefore the bank deductions, SACCO deductions are not paid.
Why? Because what's the reason for this?
Because the government is currently or has been underfunding universities, and therefore the capitation that comes to the universities cannot sustain the wage bill for the universities, and therefore they can only pay us the net and they cannot pay us the gross, and therefore you end up having lecturers being blacklisted in a financial institution. They cannot get loans because their loans have not been remitted to the banks.
I struggle.
And the pension schemes have almost collapsed, the universities, because the universities are not remitting the pension deductions.
I hear you, Mr. Maluki, and I struggle to understand the predicament you are in. Because earlier on, we are with PS education.
Yes.
And they talk about planning. And we raised the question about the unit cost of training or teaching a student. So it is known, you're going to pay a lecturer, you need this equipment, supporting infrastructure and all that. So it is budgeted and money is allocated. So how do we end up with arrears that are accumulating to billions and spreading over to the next financial year? And yet you are unionized. Every time you come out to the street, you have the return to work formula. Then a financial budget comes up and money is allocated. So I struggle to understand from when it comes to policy formulation of our education system, where do you converge all the stakeholders to ensure that not just the physical planning of infrastructure, but also the budgeting of the same is streamlined?
From what I have got to understand in my few interactions with our mother minister, Minister of Education, the CEs and the PAs, we usually have regular meetings. It is one thing to plan, it is another thing to actualize. Because they say we planned, we budgeted, the budget was passed by the parliament, but now they say, well, we're writing to the treasury must give us authority, but we ask the same question. We planned for the money was budgeted, the budget was approved, so where is the money? That is the big question now. So yes, the planning they will do. We will talk about the planning is there, but now I think the act of getting the actual money becomes a problem.
Okay. Janet, you are a CEC, Education, Nairobi County, and just looking at how things happen and what is supposed to be handled at the county level. Usually for us to understand what happens at a macro, we see what happens at the micro. So we know that counties are responsible for ECD education. That's taken care of at the county, and then now are the implementation bodies for some elements of education coming in, trickling in from the national level, some. What is the rationale that is applied? Because now we can see. What is the rationale that is applied when money that is meant for a certain thing doesn't come through? When you ask the questions and saying, okay, we have these that need to be filled. We have striking teachers. We have, we don't have infrastructure. We've not built a school in 14 years, whatever. What's the rationale that comes from the payer to say, this is the reason why you've not been able to do it?
That's a very good question. In taxpayers, sometimes you look at taxpayers, especially when you sit at those high tables, and you really pity people who are expecting services. And because this is what happens, it's very clear that budgets have even been passed by the assembly, like for an example. And when budgets are passed by assembly, it's sort of law, and you're expecting that be adhered to. And then the various sectors will start carrying out the activities and requisitioning for the funds. But most government operations have been centralized for a purpose. That all these requisitions will meet at one place. Then that is where interests come in. That this is mine because I have a cut here, this is mine because I have a cut here, this is mine because I have a cut here. So you will find that things which were not even priority, and even like something is happening in Nairobi, in the county of Nairobi. The money that were requisitioned from the controller of budget say they were supposed to be for budget. So the controller of budget is releasing that money as though it is money meant for bursary. But when the money gets to the county government, they use it for a different purpose. Those are some of the issues. Because they're hiding under cash flow issues. But even if we are hiding under cash flow issues, every sector, therefore, is supposed to share this burden of cash flow constraints. But here is a situation where some spaces are thriving. Like, for example, the empowerment program, there is nothing that is as thriving as the empowerment programs. So you'd wonder if all of us are suffering cash flows. Why are certain spaces, why are stadiums? You have seen how stadiums are sprouting from every corner. Why are stadiums not feeling the wrath of the limited cash flows, like the health sector is feeling, like the lecturers are feeling it? And all that boils to indiscipline. It boils to non-accountability. It boils to people benefiting from the resource envelope that is meant to benefit, all of us. So that a certain section will be entertained by a narrative of, there is no money, so we have to, do this and do that. Yet another sector is basking I mean, it's basking in money. I am yet to see a member of parliament or the parliament, like for an example, explaining to us where is this money coming from. Even if I don't have any other data, but the meetings that have been splashed today on this particular newspaper and the amounts of money, even when people say that the 100 million is what was spent on teachers, no, it was not. Because of other logistics, I am told there was breakfast and so on and so forth. So give or take, give or take, 200 million is being splashed. What is the source? What is the source of this money? And why are some sectors thriving while other critical sectors, like for example, Kenyans that have worked, Kenyans that have even been deducted, that the money that they are receiving is not even in gross. They've already been deducted to go to those houses that the president is today dishing out to people. You know,
I want to just support you and say this. As much as we blame government and sometimes some of our policymakers, our unions, he is one of the union leaders. I've been a union leader. The weakest link in the whole structure are normally our unions. Our unions are very weak. How many times have we seen UASU, NAT, KUPPET, call them the doctors' unions, all of them. They reach a place, they make noise. I hear said, this is going to be the mother of all strikes. We've never have seen a strike like this one we're going to see. But I can tell you, most of it is normally hot air. Because at the end of the day, government and the president and people in power know how to sit with them. Don't only blame us, the 10,000 who went to State House. Our officials have been the weakest link in the whole thing called labor sector. During our State House visit, the president told us in the face, your union leader, boss, Papa Francis Atwoli is my friend and very close friend of mine. Atwoli had taken to court this issue about NSSF and SHA, and that's why we could not move forward. When I took over government, I called Atwoli to State House. We made friendship, and Atwoli went and withdrew the case. And now we are able to start off with the affordable housing. We are now able to take off with NSSF deductions. In other words, what the president was trying to say, for anybody who can analyze the situation, I was able to speak to the unions. If I can get the judge, why deal with lawyers? These union officials, and I'm sorry, brother, and I'm speaking with a lot of respect to you, and I'm saying I'm also one of them. The government knows how to work with you and deal with you. Don't imagine any threats you'll make about going on strike will work. In the next 3, 4, 5 days, this strike will fizzle out. They'll say we have now a return to work formula. We now are going to go and do our work back at the colleges. All lecturers report to your college by 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. Then you ask yourself, what happened? What happened? And then finally, again, after a few days, he'll come here and say, they made promises to us, they've not fulfilled them, we are back on the streets.
And if you don't return to work, you have to show cause. That's the infamous now that is coming.
Yes.
But let me ask you, because I'm glad we are hosting the most unionized people.
Yeah.
How is Francis Atwoli still a union leader in this country?
Yeah, Francis Atwoli has the experience. You see, I've worked with Francis Atwoli. Janet, please allow me to say this. Don't interrupt, please. Francis Atwoli has
and Kenyans are listening.
Yes, and I know they are listening.
Okay.
Atwoli has the experience in labor matters. Labor matters is not a political party. Like KOTU is not a political party. A labor union must work with the government of the day. Even he must WASU. He must work with his employer. The biggest employer in any country is the government. So this government employs most of Francis Atwoli's members. So if Atwoli has to work for these workers, he has to bargain with this government, the government in power of the day. So when Atwoli goes to bed, say with the government that's in power today, it's not because he wants to go to bed. He has a job to do, and that job is to bargain for these workers, who most of them are government employees. You cannot fight this very government that has employed most of your members. That's number one. Number two, age in labor union is just but a number. I can say it here very confidently. Most of our leaders in the labor movement globally, and Atwoli is not just a Kenyan leader in labor. Atuoli has been elected globally several times. Even right now, he's the deputy president at ILO globally. I want to say that it's not about age. It's about the skills to negotiate and bargain.
Thank you, Mwalim. But as Janet comes in, and it's sad to me personally that you are glorifying what I would call incompetence. Because if indeed KOTU is this magnificent, wonderfully made and led union by one Francis Atuoli, why are we having all these crises? Why are the UASU people going on strike? Why then? Because we believe leadership or people who are in office, in any office, are a reflection of that constituency that has put them there.
Yeah.
Are you saying the creme de la creme of teachers, of unions, is Francis Atuoli? Janet?
No, it's a big indictment, really.
Allow me to correct that. Atuoli, we are not affiliated to KOTU. Now in Kenya we have two, centers. There's the TUC, which is the Trade Union Congress, then the KOTU. KOTU represents, workers that are not public workers. So our Njuakali and all that. But when we come to unions...
Teachers, we are also part of it. Kupet and Nat, we are in KOTU, no?
You are the only one. There's a story about that, but it's okay. So all the others, all the other public workers in trade unions, in public service, they are under the Trade Congress Union. So we are not affiliated to KOTU. And I will think that just coming to your question, I want to assure you and to assure Kenyans, among the unions that have been left standing in this country is UASU. UASU has never ever been compromised by anybody, and I want to assure you we shall never ever be compromised. I've been the national organizing secretary. I'm in charge of the strikes, and this one I'm going to assure you it is going to bite like never before. We are not going to be called to any office. Even if we are called anywhere, we will not go. For the years I've sat as a national organizing secretary, I can assure you no one has ever compromised UASU, and we will never give in. Every time we go on strike, we must deliver something to our members. The last time we went on strike, we got the highest ever salary increase. We got 9.7 billion, and that is, we got half of that, and they said, well, half of it you'll get next year, because in negotiation you may not get everything. They say, yes, we have agreed to pay you 9.7, but we don't have the entire money. Let us pay you half. If this, okay, just give us what we have. So I agree, and without mentioning names, there might be unions that are compromised. They may not do much, but I want to assure you, and even our members, we will not give in. Every time UASU goes on strike, we must deliver to our members. This one, it is either money or the world comes to an end. The strike is beginning tomorrow.
We have had this before.
I just listened to how Mwalimu here poured accolades at Senior Atuoli, and I have no personal problems, but I would maybe I'm just thinking in my mind, are the workers happy with the SHA issues? It's a yes or no. Are the workers happy with the housing deductions and the overtaxation? So what other indictment can it be that workers of this country are grappling? And what is your position as they call him veteran and so on and so forth? But I think there has to come, mediocrity has to come to an end, and things have to be called out as they are. I think generally Atuoli has been a big letdown. And there's a place of experience, and we really do respect the place of experience. But I think there's also the place of fresh thinking, which is lacking. And the workers that you represent, does he think that he represents the workers his age? And the answer is no. The struggles of the modern day worker, he does not know those struggles, and possibly that is why it's very easy for the president to be saying, I called Atuoli. When will it stop being about individuals and it becomes about the institution? I liked what I was seeing at the Law Society of Kenya when people were telling Faith. It is not about you. It is about the position that as a society we take. It's about the integrity of the institution. And when you see people replacing Koto with a Tuoli and the infamous purple billboards around, that instead of even painting a message, sensitizing your workers about a certain policy of government, you post your body, as the billboard. It tells you really a lot. And I know that sometimes in elective politics, just like we say, that we may want so much to remove, like for example, a sitting president, but he controls certain infrastructure that really threaten people. Probably that is what Atuoli is taking advantage of. And I know anybody and any government, we have seen governments that have removed workers. We have seen if the president or if the modern government decided that we really want to mobilize, or we really want unions that are strong, unions that will advance policy, because unions do not only exist to compete with government. No, unions are actually think tanks. Unions are think tanks. Yes. The best practices, unions are the ones who are supposed to be bringing forth. Yeah. And that's when I hear that, unions cannot do much because they depend on government. I am like, go to Europe. Unions we have very strong unions in this country. But in Europe, unions have made money. They have invested. Yeah. They don't depend on government. Yes. What happens to us? Are we criticizing government and we are suffering the same fate as government, that when we get money, we brandish it? Unionists are also living very posh and expensive lives. Right. They cannot be pointing fingers at others, and their teachers who they are collecting dues from are not living the same kind of life. Yes. I think there's a problem with Africa. When people get money, they don't think about structures. They don't think about improving. They just think about how much of this can belong to myself and my village and my people. And tomorrow we'll take care of ourselves. And that is why we will always have unions that are complaining. But then I think again also, as UASU, the unions for universities, there's a conversation that this government is not able to lead, which is, it is an accountability conversation in our higher education institutions. And there's a conversation that has to happen about the workers in our institutions. I am not convinced that we need the workers that we have in the universities at current.
Why? Too many?
I served, yes, and I served in the task force, this presidential working party that proudly reduced school fees and told the president, those ideas you're having about higher education, please, they are just ideas. Practically shelf that. Proudly I served in that task force. And one of the times I asked, can I get data about the number of teachers in Kenyatta University, lecturers in Kenyatta University, for an example? Nobody. And we were sitting there even with representatives of vice chancellors. Nobody knows how many lecturers are teaching in Kenyatta University.
Nobody knows, or nobody wants to tell. No, hang on.
For me, knows, or nobody I don't know whether they want to tell. But I take it that they don't know. Where is the place of data? Like, for example, who knows if universities like Daystar, like for example, are able to know a child came in, they logged in, a lecturer logged in, so it's easy to know that this and this. So there are several issues. I do not agree. For an example, there are the University of Nairobi, for example, University of Nairobi is our best. Yeah. If your income per year is 9.8 billion Kenya shillings, I refuse that you spend 9.6 on staff. Because that is what is happening. Yeah. Why are we not running universities like viable economic institutions? Why are we not running universities like other institutions? Do we actually need all the people that we have? I was speaking to a sitting minister right now, and I'm not going to mention their name. And they told me, I did BCom. I did BCom too. And they quoted a case that I didn't do when I was doing my my management course, but I'm doing it now when I'm doing my law degree. And I asked him, why it was? He told me our BCom was very deep, and I can tell you when I went next to do BCom, and the person who is doing BCom now, they are not doing the same thing, because universities divided those things into very small things. Is it to create room for lecturers, or what is it? What was called BCom now has been split to Bachelor of Business, BBI, BBT, what, you know, and so much. Do we need to have a conversation? Honestly, if your income is 9.8 billion Kenya shillings, you cannot spend 9.6 paying staff. And that is the uncomfortable conversation that William Ruto is not ready to lead. He is just scratching the surface because he does not want to step on this door. He wants to be popular. He wants to be Father Christmas having ice creams. We must have uncomfortable conversations about our universities and how they are managed.
But we can't blame the president
sustainable
on everything here now again. You see, as much as you've raised very genuine issues, which I think the university academic staff need to know, and which actually is their biggest problem, is about accountability and management at the universities. The universities have actually almost have failed when it comes to management, in terms of money, in terms of human resource. All that, actually, we can just say it very confidently, they have failed. But we can't blame that on Ruto only. It's actually to do with us. There is a wiring that we Kenyans have, including you, Mr. Professor, and many of us. We have a problem with accountability. We have a problem with taking responsibility. We always have a way of looking for a way to scapegoats and blaming somebody for it. We at the universities and we in the education sector, we also need to deal with our affairs as education stakeholders.
Can I segue from that to ask a question then for Maluki? Because this is one of the issues that we started off with this conversation at about 7 a.m. this morning. We're looking at a collective debt of universities, and these are public universities, of course, collective debt of about 80 billion shillings. The University of Nairobi on its own has a debt of 13.26 billion.
That did what?
So this is the question. That money could have been very easily flowing into this ecosystem that is now saying they don't have enough money to pay lecturers, academic staff. Do you see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So where did this money go? For example, money is owed to KRA to the tune of 4 billion shillings. There are arrears of 78 billion shillings. There are 800 million shilling staff arrears. This kind of money that would have made a way into the infrastructural ecosystem of universities as not. Let's not even talk about Moi University, because it's got the paddles on the chest and we're not sure if the heart is going to start beating again, despite what we are told. So, is there a responsibility that universities have on their own, exchequer aside, to manage things so that even if the money is flowing in, we don't have these problems all the time saying, okay, well, people haven't sent money, so everything's going to go through a standstill?
Well, thank you. I think the conversation is right. We have an issue with accountability in universities, as my colleague has said. And I think that comes to what you're talking about, having that money maybe just being around the university. One of the key things we have is that you'll agree with me that vice chancellors are political appointees. Mm-hmm. And when they go for the interview in Public Service Commission, I can assure you the number one person is never picked as the VC. I know places where the number 5 of the number 6 or the number 10 becomes the vice chancellor. So the interviews that are done for the vice chancellor are just for PR, because the number 1 is never picked. Mm-hmm. So the person who is picked is the person who has the right connections with the right people. Mm-hmm. And therefore, when you become a political appointee, you'll agree with me that you has the power to hire, has the power to fire. So the person who has hired you, you must lay, or you must exactly. That is where your loyalty becomes. And therefore, when there are issues in the university, you run to your godfather, say, oh, this and this is happening. And that is why you see there are all those leadership rankers in the universities. Coming to the question that my colleagues was asking about knowing the number of lecturers, I want to tell you, because of the political interference. You will have that a university is supposed to be an academic institution, and therefore everything should be about academic. Now, the ratio is supposed to be 7 academic staff to 3 non-teaching staff, because the non-teaching staff are supportive staff that are supposed to support the academic activity. But I want to assure you, in almost all the universities, it is the opposite, where you are going to have 3 teaching staff and over 10 non-teaching staff, because when I put you into that university X, you must employ 100 of my people. Then the local leaders come and says, employ this one for me. The other one comes and says, employ this one for me. Of course, the easier people to employ are not the academic. Because in the academic, you must have the papers. And therefore, you float the wage bill with so many workers that may not be relevant. And therefore, one of the time when we were doing our audit for the national CBA, there was a certain university who could not account for over 2,000 workers. And when we took those names out of the payroll, that university has never complained. We keep asking. Maasji Wasonga keeps asking this university. So why didn't you complain when we took away your 2,000 workers? Why were they in the payroll? So sometimes they may not know, not because they don't know, but because it works for their benefit. And because it works for their benefit, they may not tell you how many workers they have. And therefore, that is the situation where we are. But I want to tell you, it is not just about the issues of money. In the universities nowadays, the situation is very pathetic. The BCom that you're doing, when I was doing my undergraduate economics in KU, it was very different like it is today. You'll be surprised that a room that can only accommodate 40 students, it is now forced to accommodate 200 students. Today, even issuing cards for students becomes very hard. How can you as a lecturer issue a card to 200 students? How do you supervise?
And this is where I get
the infrastructures in university are not even there at all.
They are not there.
You are forced to talk to students that are seated outside the class, and we are not even talking about that.
What are they doing outside the class? What are they?
Sitting room.
In that example that he has given of economics, that it used to be 40. Now it is about 300.
Exactly.
Paying fees
has tripled.
How? Explain to me how universities are going bankrupt. Explain to me, because it was 40. The number of students that time, supervised by one lecturer. Right now, 300. Still by that one lecturer. Let me ask you: the lecturers who taught us about economies of scale, were they lying to us by telling us that when you take more people, you get the advantages of it? Mind you, the school fees does not reduce because you are now being served by one lecturer to 300. There is a conversation that must happen in this country. And that conversation, we tried to have that conversation. But as and when you get to the gist of the matter, you are stopped at some place. And let me tell you, it is not acceptable for sure. And that's why I say the buck stops with the president and the buck stops with parliament. Do you know the apex of universities? It is a university council.
Yes, it is.
It is the one that makes the decisions, is it? Talk to me about the appointment of the university council. It is not based on expertise. It is not based on anything. It is, come, my retired friend.
Let me give you something.
Come where I have married my wife. And there is a Mzee there who had attempted to do something. Come, sit here in the council. It is not a thinking organ of the universities. And I dare say, university councils are not helping universities in any way. And this is what we are saying. When you hear young people disrespecting the old, it is because of what they have seen. We are looking at these people occupying offices and we are wondering, please, even fools grow old. Are you people the ones who are supervising all this mess? Like, for an example, do you want to tell me this, the example that you have given, that 2,000 were on the payroll, sort of idle, doing nothing. Do you want to tell me that university council is not aware? Is not aware. And when you ask, who are these university council? It is not the young people of this country that have messed us. It is these same old people that want to sit here and talk to us about experience. Experience for what? You can have 20 years of experience doing the wrong thing. You can have 20 years doing the wrong thing, and that is what they have done. And we are saying, can even Parliament think afresh? How can we enhance the recruitment processes of councils, for example? Can't we even have calls for interest? People who are interested, industry gurus. How do you explain that a BCom sector is managed by somebody who has been retired for long and they want to come in? What value are they adding? In a nutshell, you will suffer as lecturers. Why? Because you're not suffering because of your sake. It is the management of our universities that we have to call to order. When money is being spent in the manner in which we saw Moi University, I'm an alumni of Moi University, and I know that so many things have not been done in the right way. When you go and behold a gate a whole university that is sinking thought that a gate was so important.
Spent 293 million shillings.
Million shillings. And you want to sit here and talk to me about experience, about people who have degrees ranging from here to the other place. No, there is a conversation that we have. And that is why we are saying there is a place. We are only going forward if we accept that there is a place of young people and fresh thinking in the management of every critical of our sectors. There is a place of young people.
And as you go to Mwalimu, I do agree, Janet. Experience is not competence.
Yes.
So we have to start now really dissecting and agreeing what skill sets do you need to run a country? What skill sets do you require to run a union? What skill sets do you require to be a lecturer? Because we are the peril, the danger of becoming phased out as one of the top ranking countries in Africa in terms of intelligence or matters education, because the courses you are offering at the universities, they'll be obsolete in a number of years, because remember the times are changing, the skills demand is changing. So that's a conversation that needs to be really discussed, and we allow people who are competent enough to occupy the learning spaces in our country so that we can have proper product and output. Now, Mwalimu, again, it comes out clearly that from what Janet is saying, the call for a strike is really not in Maluki's, Awasu hands. They're just being puppeted around. Yes. And then after a few weeks or a few days, we're going to hear them coming out being disgruntled.
Yes.
But we need to have a more serious conversation about this, the state of our education system. With whom does the buck stand? Because at some point, somebody has to take responsibility.
Yes.
At some point, policies have to be formulated.
The buck stops with the Kenyans. There's a part in the question that says that we the people are supreme, right? Remember that part? You see, the problem, and somebody said it, I don't know if it was on this show, somebody said the problem with Kenya is that we have never gotten angry enough over some of the things that happen in this country. You see, what he's talking about, what Janet is talking about, most of these things you're talking about are true. And we know them. But we have never reached a point as a country. I've been a teacher in a school. I've been a board chairman also, even a school here in Nairobi. And one time, what happens is that the money coming from government does not come. We at that school had only one TSC teacher. So we as the board, we had to employ teachers and pay them. And we were paying so many teachers from monies that we are raising from the same parents. Yet the government keeps on saying that we have got teachers going to those schools. Now, this is what I'm trying to say. But the parents don't complain. The parents in that school I was were not even angry that the government is not sending their teachers to their school. We have not yet reached a place as a country. When we tried, the Gen Z tried to reach that level, we suppressed them. The day a Kenyan person will reach what we saw the other day in Nepal, and you know we are talking about visiting State House and what we saw them burn the presidential quarters in Nepal. It has happened in Sri Lanka. Why do you think people will go and burn it? They've reached a point of no return. Kenya is yet to reach that kind of point. I told you I taught history. The French Revolution, this is how it occurred. It came after people now got fed up with everything that was going on. And that's why I support this kind of shows and SpiceFM and some of the shows the conversations that have been going on this debate. They help to shape the people to know that you have some rights. There are some things you're supposed to get. Otherwise, these shenanigans of my brother from Wasu, he'll come here. Seth Panyako of nurses will also come here and make the same kind of statements. Oh, this is the grandfather of all strikes. But can I tell you in the next 3 days, and I'm saying it on this radio, my brother here will be back to class.
Is that so?
Yes, he will be back to class because he is not the main player. Wasu is not the main player in this whole issue. And I want to put it now clearly that that's why Atwoli does how he does his things. Because Atwoli has also come to discover you as a union, we as a union, the people is bigger than the union. This is how it's bigger. If Atwoli has to fight for the workers that he represents, he has to think about the people. Atwoli has workers also in affordable housing. If you possess affordable housing, do you know how many the construction sector, how many people it employs right now? Atwoli has got people in the health sector. Do you know how many people work in the health sector who are also members of Atwoli's unions? So when Atwoli has to work, has to make his statements, when he has to come to this kind of radio and make a statement, he must think about also his workers who are also in the construction industry, who are also in those other industries. He thinks bigger than the picture is bigger.
I want to come back to
you. Are doing so well until
you you were okay, but so we're going a little bit here. So it's today. Strike is on today. Essentially, what that means is that learning at universities will be paralyzed because we're talking about academic staff. Academic staff includes lecturers, includes full-time lecturers, professors, adjunct staff, teaching assistants, all of this. Nobody will be at universities.
Yes, I want to assure you, Kenyans, that beginning today midnight, all public universities will down, all lecturers, professors in public universities, we are going to down our tools, and I assure you there will be no learning in any public university beginning today midnight, up to and until our money is paid in full, or the world comes to an end, sir. I want to assure members that we are not going to call off the strike. We in UASU, there's a way we manage our issues. Last night we had our full council that that analyzed the situation and the situation that was there. And there's no single person. I cannot just volunteer or the SG come and call off the strike. We are not going to do that. I will assure our members wherever they are, that we are going to down our tool. This is a serious strike. But having said that, allow me to respond a few issues raised here. One of the key things that is causing the financial problems in the education sector is underfunding by the government. And I can assure you, if that is resolved, then we are going to have things running in the university. The funding model that was being used to fund the university, the DUC, the government was supposed to fund the DUC at 84%. Universities get money through either government capitation or the ones that they generate within. That is the one that comes through fees, through running hospitals and through running that. But that is small. The major funding comes from the government through capitation, which the government was supposed to fund 84. By the time that model was was set aside, the government was funding only 41%. So if they're supposed to fund at 84 and they fund at 40, where does the other 40 come from? That is why universities got into deep financial problems. Now, to resolve the financial problems, what the government said is that now we put away the DUC model, we are coming up with a new model. But that is running away from the problem, because the problem with the old funding model was that the government was not funding. So if you come up with another model, does that solve the problem? For us, we say no, and we have always said this is not the way to resolve the problems in the sector. The only way is a fund education sector, and these problems would not be there.
Look, the importance of these conversations, I think, cannot be undermined ever. And that some of the things that have come out of these conversations that we've held for the last 2 hours are things that people did not know that could be applied to the discourse, and that's why it's important that we have them. We want to thank each and every one of you for being here this morning. Tell me, say I'll go home and practice it today so that next time it will be okay. But otherwise, known as Mwalimu, education advocate and researcher at the Kenyan Women Teachers Association, the director of Tunza Mtoto Coalition, Janet Okoh, been here. We've been spilling truths this morning, and it was necessary for us to do, for us to form the basis of the conversations that we have onto action. And of course, Onesmus Maluki, who is the UASU organizing secretary, thank you for being part of this conversation, and thank you for being part of Future. Asante sana. Josphat, thank you for waking up early this morning and hosting in such a spectacular manner. It's great to have you here.
Good pleasure.
Thank you for making it part of Kenya's biggest conversation this Tuesday. It's 10:01. Have a good rest of the day. We'll talk again, God willing, tomorrow.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Umaga. Suicide is the fourth leading cause of death among youth aged between 15 and 35 years. Kemri mental health expert Lynette Njeri says this is because around this age people are going through a lot of challenges like economic hardship, joblessness, alcohol and substance abuse.